Welcome everyone to the Faded Connections Path of Exile Community Podcast, episode number 39, where we talk about the Heist League. Path of Exile 3.12. Heist has been going on for a little bit more than a week now. It started Friday, 18th of September. For reference, that's 8 days ago. And tonight we got two very famous guests in the Path of Exile world who you're probably going to be familiar with and happy to hear talk about Heist. And before I introduce them, I want to, of course, extend a warm welcome to everyone listening on the live podcast here at twitch.tv/CatmasterOP, to the listeners of the VOD on youtube.com/BalorMage, as well as the listeners on all the audio platforms that we're available on. Good morning, evening, afternoon, and good night. And welcome to the Faded Connections. Hi, we'll just directly start with the guests. Tonight we got ZiggyD and Lord Fluffy here. Welcome, Ziggy. Would you like to give us your intro talk and let us know how your league start went in Heist and what you've been up to in the last couple of days?
Yeah, good morning, good morning. I've been I haven't played too much since the patch that came out a day or two ago. I've been quite unwell for the past couple of days, inexplicably. So I've only been able to jump on for a few hours, but I've been constantly wanting to. So I just kind of sneak on and do a heist every now and then. So I jumped on and did a grand heist yesterday. But I've the league has had its issues, but I've actually had a lot of fun with it. Throughout multiple different instances of it not working in various capacities. I've been pretty lucky with avoiding crashes and soft locks and stuff in Heist. So I've been able to actually heist and have found it strangely addictive. So as a result, I've barely gotten to yellow maps in the end game because I just keep heisting instead. All my time has been spent heisting, but yeah, it's been pretty enjoyable. I actually think from a content perspective, this league is super impressive. Just obviously it's a lot of fine tuning kind of needed, I guess, if we can say that.
Yeah, the league has its fair share of issues, but it has an amazing sort of theme and feel to it. And I think there's also, aside from the glaring issues that we can't overlook, maybe there's also a lot of things that that are really good and really well done about it. It's just hard to keep track with so many things changing on the one hand and so much negativity on the forums and on Twitter and everywhere. But I'm sure we'll be able to pull that stuff apart and talk about it in a neutral, constructive manner. Welcome also on the other corner, Lord Fluffy. How would you like me to introduce you? Your Twitter bio doesn't only say Face of Diablo, but it also says Future of PoE.
That's all correct and official, by the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So it's sanctified. All right. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here. How has your Heist League start been?
Honestly, pretty smooth. I have not been plagued by crashes inside of a heist anyways. I have crashed I still crash inside syndicate dungeons for some reason, quite a bit. But I mean, outside that, it's been actually pretty smooth for me. I get some weird lag, in a Zana mission, inside the second map. I just get unplayable lag, but I mean, really nothing that has enraged me too hard. So pretty smooth, honestly.
That's the dream, isn't it? Nothing to enrage me too much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of it. It's a threshold.
From another perspective, I'm not a full-time streamer. I kind of full-time stream hours, but I'm not playing 13 hours a day right now. I'm sure if I was one of those guys, I'd probably be pretty frustrated. But for someone that's SSF and progressing, fairly slow and doesn't have 8+ hours every day so far, it's been pretty smooth.
Yeah, what build did you start with? Is that I saw you play some Poison Steel Skill stuff. Was that what you started with?
Yeah. So I started SSF, of course, the only way to play. And I really like Poison builds in Path of Exile. And so immediately when I saw the Lacerate trailer and how fast that thing was firing off, I was like, oh yeah, Poison for sure. So I started a Poison Assassin Lacerate.
Lacerate?
Lancing Steel, sorry. Not
Lancing
sorry.
Steel,
Lancing
okay.
Steel, yeah. There's so many L skills. But yeah, so it's been actually going pretty well. I've been pretty surprised by it. Last league I just started with Ethereal Nice Arcanist brand, Poison Assassin, and that was okay. But this is like actually, oh wow, if I gear this up, it's gonna be quite good.
So that's
How-
the steel skill that fires off like a little machine gun when you hit.
Yeah,
Because I was like, of all the skills, I was like, that looks the worst by far.
yeah.
So
Probably true.
I'm impressed to hear that it's going well. Like I thought,
Yeah.
okay, maybe it might be good for boss killing. How does it go for clear? Are you using like chain or something like that?
I'm using Pierce, the built-in Pierce that you get on the side of the assassin, which has
Right.
been really great, especially in maps where it's like a bit more narrow than it is like wide open,
Yeah.
because you can just like lay down covering fire and it goes through like 4 enemies. But I mean, it just hits so fast and applies poison so fast, and has good synergy with assassin. It's just been, I mean, it's been good. I'm only in like yellow map so far, but I have 4 links and my gear is a joke. So, it's I mean, it's been pretty smooth. And
I mean,
as poison builds, like we get the plague bear, which is pretty good early on. So
yeah,
like,
I was
a lot
gonna
of that
say
support
Plague
helps.
Bearer carries hard.
So it's been good. I like
I
it.
mean,
I was a little worried I wasn't gonna be able to keep up the steel shards, like
yeah, how's the
from
core
the
steel?
yeah, but it hasn't mattered at all. So
I do like the design of that Call of Steel thing. Does that like apply poisons or anything like that and use all the same supports from the skill because it's granted by the skill? Or is it just kind of a utility skill that doesn't really do too much?
it looks like, I can't really tell because there's like obviously not great like resource out there, but it looks like it's applying poison when I just do the Call of Steel. I've tested it like dragging other mobs into it, and it looks like it's applying poison, but I can't really tell for sure. There's like no guaranteed way of knowing, I feel like, unless I did like a frame by frame analysis or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that skill popping packs, so it seems to actually do something. So maybe it does benefit from the sports and things like that. But yeah, I haven't barely looked at the new steel skills.
Yeah. I
I
also
think
can't
I'm
really
not
find
wrong.
any information of like what is attack speed really doing for me. Like obviously it makes me animate
Yeah,
faster, but
because on
yeah.
one hand, that's like a melee barrage, but on the other
Yeah.
hand, it's a bit more like the slam skills in that because you can only have 2 of them active, I think, right? At
Hmm.
any time. So when you like, if you build attack speed, you just kind of replace the last one, which doesn't seem to do anything. So kind of seems
Yeah.
anti-attack speed, which is also a
Don't
bit
know.
weird on a poison build.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a
So,
barrage as well, though, which is really
right.
good. So I don't know. It's an odd skill. That's everything
It
I
is.
looked at that. I was like, I do not know what to
Yeah.
make of that skill.
I'm also guilty of not having looked at the new steel skills. I know that there is now this Call of Steel that all of them grant, and there's even a threshold jewel for it, but I'm completely unaware of all the interactions because I've been so occupied with all the other additions and like figuring out the alternate gems that I want for my builds and stuff like that. There's just a lot of new options in this patch that
Yup.
yeah, I guess I just closed on that one. I just was like, no, I'm closing I'm closing my eyes. I'm kept saving my brain capacity for other things. But those definitely look cool because they're like a family of skills that share an interaction now, similar to Blade Fall, Blade Vortex, and EK. I think that's really cool for flavor and also to some extent for like, gameplay, build making reasons.
Hmm.
How does your build
That's
feel for heists, if I may ask?
like Heist is really linear and like kind of narrow, so it feels pretty good for that. But I haven't really, I mean, I've not really gotten any grand heists. I think I've done like 5. I had just not getting them, and for normal heists, it's been a breeze. So weird this league. It's because you want to progress your atlas, but you get so many contracts. It's
Yeah.
like, and I should probably just like skip them and not do them all, but I've just been like running them all. So it's like I'm progressing so much slower over in my atlas. So that's definitely weird. It feels like, wow, this is gonna take me a long time to like actually kill Awakener Rate because I'm not necessarily wasting a lot of my time, but I'm definitely doing other things, which is nice. But at the same time, I don't know that heists are super exciting, but we'll see how it pays out.
And how did the build that you picked, Ziggy, fare against Heist?
So I did Hex Blast, but I went Ignite Occultist
Mm.
for a few reasons. because like I foresaw the issue with Hex Blast hit builds being that like it would really enhance the clunk aspect of it, the like casting of multiple skills. You miss half the pack, you have to recurse and then recast and all that sort of stuff. As well as I wanted to like do some nice fire synergy with Amy's build, which was Blazing Salvo Totems. And a lot of people who played hit-based Hex Blast builds quit and rerolled, but I really have liked mine, and it's been quite strong overall. I feel the single target dropping off a bit now that I'm getting into like some higher level Conqueror fights. The first ones I one-shot them with ignites, so it was pretty good. But then now that I'm kind of getting up in the ranks and they're gaining more HP and whatnot, it's not quite one-shotting them anymore. It's like still pretty good though, but I foresee by the time I'm like at Atlas level 8 that I'm not probably going to be. But I don't think a single target is going to be super impressive, so I don't know how much further you can push that. So it's difficult to see, but for heisting, it's really, really good. When they all group behind the door, you can just kind of put your curse in the door and it hits all of them, and then you Hex Blast, and it just they just walk in. There's a bunch of burning corpses everywhere. So Prolif and Ignite works really well with it. Archmage to carry the damage, and Prolif to carry the mechanics effectively. So it's like an Archmage Prolif build.
How does the Ignite? So like you blow them up with the Hex Blast. What is does the Knight just kill the Scragglers, or is it?
Anything that's the actual initial hit's pretty big for an Ignite build, so a lot of stuff does die to the initial hit, especially because Profane Bloom from the Occultist as well, and the Impending Doom from the Curse itself. So I've got 2 Chaos Explosions going off, killing a lot of things, and then anything that survives kind of gets ignited, and their corpses all prolif. So anything that kind of survives or runs into the area to chase you, or to kind of move into that empty space, ends up dying to the ignites on the ground as well. So it works really well. I've been quite happy with it overall. Not like a super strong league starting skill, but I got a Tabula from like an early heist, and with Archmage, once you get those extra links, just like damage carries. So once you do get some curse nodes and like a 5th link or a 6th link with Archmage, the Hex Blast felt really good. So everywhere from like level 40ish onwards, it felt pretty good. It's been a banger. A lot of people haven't liked the Hex Blast, but definitely, as far as Ignite goes, I can say that it's quite nice.
You reckon you could play like a poison-based or like a chaos-based poison version?
That would be a lot harder, I think. Weirdly, because it's like a chaos skill, right? But it's like the most non-chaos skill that I've played. All damage ignites and all damage shocks and all damage freezes. It's much more of an elemental skill, really. You lower their elemental all damage ignites and all damage shocks and all damage freezes. It's lower their cold resistance and focus on freezing. Or you play like Ignite. Oh, you broke all the cameras.
Oh wait, what did I break? Wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry.
I can see you, BalorMage.
Wait, Balor's coming in? Yeah. Balor comes in and then breaks all the cameras as usual. Nice. Wait, all the cameras are really completely gone. What happened?
Internet won't start up, but I'm tethered through my phone and Discord is working.
There we go. There we go. So I'm Lord Fluffy now. Catmaster looks different. Okay, yeah, guys.
Intellectual property. I'm reporting you to Twitch right now.
Okay, you guys have to interview BalorMage about his league start and his first impressions now, while I fix the cameras.
What did you play as your starter build, BalorMage? Tell me about.
I was listening to you guys while I tried to get my shit tethered, but welcome to Australia to the internet. Right. I can't open the stream either. That's fine. We're just in Discord today.
Well, welcome anyway.
I started as Spectres.
Yes, did you go to the new Spectres? The POG Spectres everyone's talking about?
Well, I just did Redemption Sentries to begin with because I didn't know about them at League start.
Yeah.
But Redemption Sentries still slap. They're fine. Mm-hmm. They're basically unchanged. I might as well not have nerfed them. That everything was just as normal. And then the Syndicate operatives got shown to me like 4 days ago, whatever it was.
Have you stopped them?
Yeah, I want to go ahead and say they're the strongest Spectre build that's ever existed ever.
That's pretty good.
And I played Redemption Sentries before they were nerfed, and I played those Fire Scorching Ray Totem ones like 2 years ago, and
Tokuhama
Blade
something.
drivers?
They're actually really, really gross. Their single target is upsetting. I don't
Upsetting.
think they're meant to shotgun the way they do. But they do. And now I'm really, really enjoying it. But now I'm worried about what other builds I'm going to play after that.
I like how these syndicate operatives haven't been changed. They're not a new thing as far as like they've been around for a while, but just no one tried them because on paper they looked really bad. Because people were looking at like the cast speed of their spell or something, or the attack speed of their attack, and they're like, "This is awful." But then it turns out they cast some spell really quickly that triggers all of their other attacks. So
Yeah. So they
like
trigger
some like crazy reverse cast on crit build or something like that.
They trigger 3 attacks
With a
from
spell.
a spell. But it gets worse. Because the spell they cast can't be echoed.
It can't be. I thought
But
could
it
be.
can be supported by spell echo.
So it gains the cast speed buff.
It gains 60% more cast speed and doesn't get the downside of spell echo. And there's no cooldown on the attacks, so they just spit out things
Damn.
way quick. And then vicious projectiles, I normally don't even use in builds like that because while it's got the highest more multiplier, it's got that less projectile speed, attack speed thing, less projectile attack speed drawback that sort of brings it back in line with other support gems. But we don't care about attack speed because we trigger them based on spells. So you can use spell echo and vicious projectiles.
I wonder if this will be like a mid-league nerf because technically it's a bug or something like that. Because usually they don't mess with the stuff, but I don't know. Sometimes if it crosses the line into like bug category, then and it's deleting everything.
It's
Herald's
perhaps
2.0.
its biggest problem is it shotguns. So GMP is its biggest single target damage, which that part seems like a bug. It's,
Yeah, nothing is anything supposed to shotgun because I
only
think what Shattering
explosions?
Steel was like one of the last ones did it, and they fixed that.
Yeah, like ground explosions can still shotgun, or like things that explode with them. But these are just straight up projectiles, and they just straight up shotgun, and that I don't think is supposed to actually happen anymore.
Yeah, no actual projectile hits are supposed to shotgun. Only a secondary effect. Like you can have AoE overlap is more technically accurate.
Yeah, but these ones do. But if those things are bugs and they pull them out, realistically, the only difference that makes is that we have to start gem swapping. Right now, the biggest benefit is I don't gem swap for anything. A map clear, a kill Cirrus 8, everything's on the same link, which is probably my favorite part. But if they fix the buggy parts mid-league, that just means we have to start gem swapping again like a normal Spectre build, which is fine. I can live with that.
Do you think Path of Exile 2 will aim to solve gem swapping at all?
Almost certainly. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope
We'll
so.
solve a lot more than that in the skill gem changes. Hopefully, but yeah, gem swapping the least of all those will definitely, should hopefully be a thing. I mean, we'll have how many skills that we can have as 6 links, so we'd have no shortage of like having. You could have 2 options of single target, 2 options of AoE skills, and then like 2 or 3 utility skills quite easily. It sounds like so. That should definitely solve any sort of gem swapping annoyances. Because I hate gem swapping too. I really don't want to gem swap anymore. Done it too many times in the past.
They've sort of tried to lean that way already, right? Like pinpoint support, even though it's got the longest list of this is what it doesn't work with, is still going in that direction anyway.
Yeah, it's disappointing it doesn't work with like bow attacks and wand attacks. Like why?
And minions and I want them on my minions.
So it's like only self-cast projectile spells specifically. But bows definitely could have used that gem for sure. I don't know. It feels a bit like a bummer. That's a bummer.
It's the longest list we've had of of any gem in the game. It's the longest list of does not work with this.
They've given that ultimately they've given themselves like a bit of a cumbersome system with this like free reign kind of support gem skill system. So the more things we develop, like more that's going to happen where you've got like all these exceptions and rules for skills to make sure that they can work together without like they can introduce a new support gem, which for everything else is completely fine and like really balanced, and it's a great just tool in the box. But then for this one skill, because of the weird mechanic it's got, it's like insanely overpowered.
Yeah.
So they're going to be adding exceptions and rules and things like that. Apparently. Bug.
Yep. Oh yeah. Cat's muted.
You're muted apparently, Catmaster. Not for us, we can hear you, but
Okay,
He's got two
great.
different mute buttons.
So let me quickly repeat myself. Obviously, Path of Exile 2 is gonna solve everything, like Chris already said, and yeah, like Balor said, they're going into that direction already. We got Intensify support, which is basically Conk Effect and Ink AoE combined and just situationally different. And yeah, I hope that they already showed some of the meta gems in PoE 2, right? And I hope that there's going to be a lot more, and some of them will probably take away or take over the role of gem swapping. I'm almost sure. Maybe you'll get like a forking gem where you can like define a button to switch between two support gems in the same link or something like that, right?
A button to gem swap.
Well, like you swap stances from flesh and stone, or you could have a support gem that makes it so that the next support gems that are linked after that are only active in this or that stance, or I don't know.
I had to look through the rules really, really carefully to find out whether I was allowed to make a macro that would gem swap for me. The answer's no.
Yeah, no.
The service dropping a gem into your inventory counts as a server-side action. So then technically there's 3 of them. I'm only allowed to do 1 per button press. And there would be 3, a gem swap. Picking a gem from my inventory, a gem swap, and putting 1 back. Damn it, 3 server-side action.
Well, you can
F1
make
through F3. You just get F1, F2, F3.
Yeah, actually, yeah, do 3 hotkeys.
That would work if you separated it.
Yeah, as long as they're separate key presses, you can technically do that.
You would just not be allowed to make a macro that presses those 3 macros.
Yeah, that's just like one step, one stage of... What are you, the government? This is one stage of abstraction here. This is like, fine, this is technically legal. I just put an extra step in between there.
I'm now considering that. F1, F2, F3. Lovely.
It's called weapon swapping. Just have the exact same setup in your offhands and just... It'd be pretty cool if you could like... If they could just implement something like that into the weapon swap. But at this point, it's not going to happen because, I mean, they're fixing everything with PoE 2, right? So why fix anything else when everything's going to be fixed in PoE 2?
I think the answer is because it's probably 2 years away from release.
Yes.
It's a long time.
I'll have to do some things in the meantime, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we can
You
talk
think 2
about
years?
Heist.
I always think of like, when people ask me, oh, when's it going to come out? I'm like, probably like 2 months before Diablo 4 comes out, whenever that is. They're just going to try to be in the market, and that's when it's coming out.
Is there been any indication of when D4 is coming out?
No.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
I think it would be like better to be after D4, like what they did with D3. Yeah, I mean they launched after D3 and they worked really well for them. But like you give like D4 like a little bit of time, people kind of enjoy it, have good time with it. The initial kind of hype wears off, and people find the things they don't like about it or the things that it's missing, and then PoE 2 drops and is like, here we go again, what we did with PoE 1 versus D3. So everyone who's dissatisfied with the D3 experience can like come on over.
Yeah.
We got these things. We fixed everything.
No, absolutely, because Diablo casts a way wider net, and it gets potentially people to play it that are not even interested in ARPGs or who don't know that they are interested in ARPGs at that point, and it gets people into that, sort of like a gateway drug, and then PoE comes.
Blizzard did Path of Exile's marketing for them. Like it was the best marketing PoE could have hoped for, because it like reinvigorated the action RPG scene with the launch of D3. Like people had forgotten about those games even existed, and D3 came out. I was like, I remember that game from when I was a kid. Started playing. I mean, it got me into it. I heard about D3 coming. I couldn't play it yet, so I signed up for the PoE beta. I didn't get it until after D3 came out, but it got it on my radar.
Wouldn't that same logic apply? So say D4 comes out second and PoE tries to beat them in the market. Like, wouldn't the hype that D4 is generating, like all these people maybe coming back, oh, another Diablo game, and then like, what am I going to play right now? And it's like, oh wow, there's a game that kind of rivals it called Path of Exile too.
It could work that way, but I think it would probably run more of the risk, or the stronger impact would be like the PoE 2. Oh, that's old news. I already heard about that, but D4's here. I'm going to play that instead, or I'm going to wait for that. So maybe a bit, but
I'm like PoE almost all the time, forever. But whenever Diablo 4 launches, I'll be playing that.
Right? I'll give it a go.
Like I'm gonna give it. I kind of expect to be generally only entertained for a few weeks and then bored and moving on with my life. But that's maybe just me being a little negative. And I would hope that that's not the case. I would love it.
Action RPGs are the only thing where we're like, oh, I'd only be entertained for a few weeks with this new video game launch. Like,
right?
What a bummer!
Any other game.
What a letdown! What a disappointment!
500
hours.
Game you pay $70 for and play it for a month, and you're like, oh, that was great. That was incredibly great. This one's free, and if I get bored in a month, I'm like, oh, what happened there?
We're supposed to get skill tree updates next week, or at least what they're thinking. So hopefully they're no longer twigs, but I guess we'll see, and that'll be a good indication.
D4's skill skill twigs, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I would love to be wrong though. Like if D4 launches, I would love for it to be so good that then PoE 2 launches and I play that as well, and then I can't figure out which one I want to play.
Yep.
Yeah,
that would be great if I woke up every day and was like, I don't know what to do.
Was they just screenshotted Path of Exile skill tree and just like, this is ours. That'd be great.
It's just like everything squares instead, though, but it's all like
yeah, there you go. Smart.
All the spheres of
squares and diamonds. Yeah,
calling it the square grid. Like it's like a next level meta reference to the origins of it.
And it like rotates like Wilson or something. There you go.
That was the best gimmick for Wilson as well. It's like skill tree, but it rotates. Everyone loved it. Everyone fell for it, man. They're like, oh damn, it rotates.
I was so excited about that. And it just didn't do anything, really.
Yeah, the impact was very minimal of the rotation gimmick.
Well, I'm sure it would have been okay-ish, but like only 25% of the tree actually worked
when
the game came out.
Hold on, the problem.
Yeah, that's a separate issue.
The rotating mechanic worked, though. That did work.
Yeah, it did
Imagine
rotate.
if that didn't work. Imagine if Wilson came out and the rotating didn't rotate.
Yeah.
It was bugged. Like, fell off. Oh, dear. I had a lot of fun with that, though. I had a lot of fun with Bolson until they took away my modifying of uniques. Modifying
that was cool,
legendaries
upgrading those. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super sick. They really should bring that back. And, like, we've seen, like, I don't know, a little bit more of that in PoE as well. With, like, we had Varlorbs corrupting, changing uniques. Because, yeah, uniques being this, like, unchangeable thing is kind of like, well, that's the golden rule, but then the idea of maybe you can just change them a little bit. I don't know. I really like that for some reason. It's super appealing.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's these anointable uniques from Blind League. Anoint them and then double corrupt them.
Veil unveils. Like, I think that's really cool too, where you can have like a bit of a choice over which direction it takes. And then there's a couple examples of the like build your own unique, where you like do some things in a unique map, or different boss combos or whatever, give you a a different outcome on the item, or like maybe you get something like different implicits through synthesis or something like that for different uniques. I really like all of those. Have been kind of extra exciting. Those uniques where you have like little twists on them. Like there's the I think it's the leech gloves, where you I don't know, finding like a cool pair of those is really exciting, because you get like the 2 or 3 different implicits that are, potentially sometimes pretty impactful.
And the shock explode ones. Those also can be cool. I can't remember what they're called. Shocking corpse, explodey gloves.
Sick name.
Yeah.
You should design a unique.
Isn't that the
Shocking corpse,
reworked
explodey gloves.
asanas? Or is
No, they've got different
Other ones?
implicits. They drop from synthesis maps.
Storm's gift.
Storm's
I
gift.
already forget about
Yes, that's the one. They can be really good. They can be like 1C garbage, or they can suddenly be like expensive and really, really good.
Mm.
Just because there's a different version of implicits on them.
No, I like that.
Well, I think it's up to me to lead the conversation into Heist now that we're fully caught up with what everyone's been up to, and no, we got our BalorMage here, and that's it's all great. We're super hyped to. What would we start with? I think it's good to talk a little bit about the mechanic itself, even though there has been some changes, like the basic principle of like how you can maximize your gains in heists are still the same. You can basically stack reduced alert raising with the items on your rogues and with the implicits of the different heist syndicate members, or you can increase the lockdown timer so you have like a lot of time to grab everything. What has everyone been going for? What's been your main go-to strat when you've been playing the league? Who wants to go first? Ziggy looking away, Balor making weird faces.
I'm so unpleased. I shouldn't go first.
Fluffy,
Sure.
how did you strategize your heist?
I'll tell you, here's my strategy, okay? I got things and I put them on my rogues.
Wow.
And that's all I've done so far.
Yep.
I haven't really dug super deep. I've just been running them and getting XP and unveiling my Alice.
Not
I'm
even
not
like a
much to
micro
report there.
strat in there, like how you open the chest.
My only micro strat has been like, since you get so many contracts, it's been like, well, I only want these type rewards, so I'm just like running those. But as far as anything else, like gearing up my rogues, I really haven't min maxed anything yet.
No, but also like in the heist itself, I think like for me at least, it pretty soon became obvious, or at least for my playstyle, the best thing was to clear out the path to the main target for the heist.
Mm-hmm.
To just make sure that there's no enemies and to open all the doors so that I could go in there like really without any problems. And then to walk back and open all the little chests and then just, make sure that I know when I set off the alert so that the timer for the lockdown happens, and make sure that happens at some spot where on the way to the final target, I could still open some smaller chests and I obviously would make it in time. And then on the way out, I'd usually pick up the loot. Although I may have to reconsider that now in higher ones, because like after the lockdown happens, when all the monsters keep on spawning and swarming you don't want to be picking up loot necessarily. Maybe I have to pick up the loot first, but yeah.
Yeah, early on, that guy that opens up like a chest after lockdown was really nice, because you could kind of strategize around that as well.
Yeah, Tibbs. I've had pretty good success
Tibbs,
with bringing him on the grand heist to because you can like put him in multiple slots. So having him like crack multiple chests, and there's another one that does the same thing too. One of the counter thaumaturge also opens a chest, so you can do like Tibbs, counter thaumaturge, and get like 3 chests after the fact, which is like one of those rooms and a half. But I've primarily built for like reduced alert, and even after the chest changes, like the most recent one, so like the smaller chests adding more, I am skipping like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 small chests now, but still being able to get all the big ones because they're like relatively less alert now. On everyone except Vendari, because Vendari's got the increased alert gain. So everyone except Vendari, I'm cracking pretty much everything except for a couple of the small chests in regular heists, and that seems to be going pretty well. I do like the increased alert time strategy though. If you want it, maybe that could work well for Vendari since he's got the penalty anyway. You just like set the alarm off and then have like 40 seconds to grab everything else.
40 seconds. I've heard Octavian does 2 minutes.
Right.
Like you can stack
well.
flat. Like there's flat bonuses to lockdown timer, and then there's increased lockdown timer, so that obviously multiplies. And apparently you can get it significantly higher than 1 minute.
Yeah, well, it's like 1 minute is enough time generally, because
Yep.
you're like probably like at least halfway through the heist by the time you set off the alarm, even with Venderi. So, yeah, if you that like 1 minute is probably enough in most cases, unless they like bug out on a door or something.
Have you had a lot of that bugging out on doors?
I've been pretty lucky. I've only ever had one soft lock in a grand heist. It's where like one door I couldn't open. So from one of 3 wings, I couldn't get the reward. Otherwise, it's ran pretty all right. I had a couple times where I've like had to, leave the door and come back, and I've had the perception one, I think it is, where she disappears. I've had it just like my companion just disappears into the void. You can hear her voice in the background, but she doesn't exist anymore. So I've had that happen once, but I've never had a crash in one, thankfully. So I've been pretty lucky. I've crashed coming out of them a couple of times, but always after I've secured the loot. So I've just gotten very lucky, I think.
Yeah, I've
It's
also
a
been
weird
super
place
lucky.
to crash too, but I've done that when you come out like in that middle zone where you just secure it and just hard crashes there, and you're like, what? My whole client's closed, but you've got all the stuff and you were leaving anyway.
There's a weird
So-
bug as well with, I think, the perception one, the same one who disappears, where she just automatically opens doors. So you walk around and she teleports to the other side of the door and automatically opens it. It's really weird, but it's actually kind of good.
That would be my favorite bug. I will take one of those,
It's
please.
kind of a good bug. It works pretty well. She does them really quick. She just like kind of, you walk near the door and she teleports to it and almost instantly opens it. I've had that where I've like walk through an entire heist and she just automatically teleports and opens every door. So
That would be
was
cool.
not too bad as far as bugs go. Positive
Yep.
bug.
Yeah,
I
Balor, you
kind of
want to go
stopped
first?
doing heists.
Damn. Why?
You stopped? Did you say?
Well, I really, really, really liked them right at the beginning. Definitely like all the rares stacking and the big shotgunning through doors and stuff, like the bug fixes and or changes they changed were great. But I really, really liked them. Then they nerfed the alert level raising thing, and I was like, well, I still really like them, but now I don't have any choices to make. I just get everything. And so I was like, that's less interesting, but it's still a really fun and engaging mechanic that I'm enjoying doing over maps. And then, as far as I can tell, they took away all the rewards. And now I make less money doing heists than I do in my regular maps. Significantly less rewards.
Is that for real though? I've heard people saying that, and I like ran a couple yesterday
So-
after the changes, and I feel like I'm still get significantly more from a heist than a map.
So the difference depends on how you map.
Yeah,
And
if you juice,
I map with juice,
yeah,
and they just can't compete. If you're just like an Alk and Go mapper, then it's still a little better than maps, and it still feels fine.
this is for
But-
regular heists as well. Like regular heists
yeah.
would be a bit better than Arcane Go, but not as good as fully juiced maps.
Yeah.
But Grand
It's-
Heist though, I don't think there's any comparison. Like I think Grand Heist is still far more rewarding.
Grand Heist is still okay, but you have to do regular Heist to get unlocks for that. So now it's a chore for me to do them.
Fair.
And what's probably the most upsetting bit is 2 days before that change, I decided I'd spent way too long in Heist and I'd neglected my Atlas. So I was going to power through the rest of my Atlas and try and catch up. So I saved them. So I had 400-500 of them sitting in a stash, knowing they were worth a bunch. And then I was going to get back to them when I completed my Atlas. And now I don't want to run them anymore. And that's just sad because it was probably it's so early. I feel like I say it about every league when it's that league, but it feels like it was my favorite mechanic. Like I absolutely loved it.
Do you really think they're done with it though? I don't think so. The last few
No.
leagues they've like buffed significantly. Within the 1 to 2 week range, or if we go back, depending how far back go back, maybe like a month in, but
Yeah.
generally within like 1 or 2 weeks, the league is far more rewarding than it was at launch. So like, although we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, I don't think they're going to sit there with everyone kind of talking in the tone they're talking now, regardless of how good it is currently. Like, I don't think they're going to sit on it like it is.
So I ran a bunch of them yesterday just to like try and get my head around what I thought was wrong and why it was unfun to me now. And I realized that I couldn't tell the difference between running an 83 heist and running a 72 heist.
Yeah.
The rewards are identical. Nothing is any different between them.
I also feel like mechanically, are you super entertained? To me, it's seemingly a bit of a missed opportunity because there's not that much like strategy
but not anymore, right?
I
Because
don't know.
when everything raised the alert level, I had to think and make decisions.
Right.
I had to path differently. I'm a minion build, so I couldn't even stop them from killing things. So I had to, and I had decisions to make, and I had to like really decide whether I wanted these reward chests or these minor chests or whatever. And we'd only just started gearing. And there were people that were faster than me who had already got relatively good gear on their rogues and were already being like, I'm able to open all the side rooms and like 60% of the little chests in the middle. And I've only just started gearing it. It's day 3. And now I can murder everything because I've got gear on my rogues. So it's sort of like, it was a super interesting mechanic the way they had it that required thought and investment in the rogues themselves as well. And once we all got geared, would have actually felt okay and rewarding, I think. I kind of think they nailed it. And then they responded to backlash and changed from what they wanted to do. And if they had just waited like 4 more days for everyone else to catch up with the speedy people who were in front, everyone would have just been like, oh, I get it now. It feels better and better the better you gear them. It's great.
I half strong disagree. Half strong
Half?
disagree.
Half
strong
strong?
disagree.
Wow.
Which
Alright.
is I think you're right about the balance. I think like the balance of the alert level, once you were geared, it was gonna actually be pretty good. But I strongly disagree that they nailed it because of the fact that it was on kill. And it led to just kiting stuff around.
No, yeah, okay. Yep. So you're right. I couldn't do that because I was a minion build, so I didn't.
Yeah,
I don't think of that.
You never experienced the meta of how you physically played it naturally, which was to just run around in circles.
Like it probably should have been when you trigger them or when you enter combat with them.
Yeah, when you get spotted or while you're in combat with them or something like that. So if they had just made that kept the same alert balance and then just changed over to that, I think it would have been fine balance wise. But because they just removed the on kill alert and didn't add anything back, they had to then go rebalance the chests, which maybe they had to do anyway because people were just opening small chests. A lot of people were just opening small chests and not big ones. So maybe they had to change that anyway. But overall, the alert balance was pretty good. But yeah, it kind of scuffed it. So now they're still catching up with that.
It still feels like it's missing something though. Like, to me, it kind of seems weird that maybe there should be one guard, and if you don't kill him fast enough, he can trigger an alarm, and so
that's
you have to focus him.
Someone runs off to
you gotta kill there should just be mini objectives, or there should just be something more to it. Than
you know what's funny though? There is one mechanic that is kind of in line with the whole concept and.
The invisible
almost works really well. No, the totems. Everyone hates the totems.
Oh, the totems.
But they're almost good. They're almost a good mechanic because they're like a little alarm system where you got to discover them and kill them before they can raise the alert level too high. They're like a good counterbalance. They only exist in perception ones, but they're really broken
such bad
because
visibility.
Yeah, no, you can't do anything. That's the problem. There's no counterplay to them, so they're a little bit misdesigned. So they're they could be a good mechanic if you could send one of your rogues to disable them if you notice them, or do it from without setting them off, or they have a visible area where if you step in, it'll set them off, and you can you can weave your way around that or something like that. There's no counterplay, but if there was, there would actually be a good mechanic.
I agree very much with that. With doubling down on the sneaking theme, I agree with Balor that it was really fun and nicely balanced on release in terms of alert level generation and everything, and it was actually more fun than it is for me right now, or than it was even after the last the first round of changes. But I actually got really upset when I saw that on stream when they 3 days in, I saw the patch notes that they were going to remove alert level generated from killing anything, and they made it so that reduce the amount of monsters stacking up on the escape routes, on the choke points. But it ended up being a lot less of a change than I thought it was when I read it. And for me personally, I also had less problems with it because I played a cold damage over time build. So I was actually enjoying the challenge. And I think some people who weren't reducing enemy action speed by like 20+%, it was probably just too much, right? Like for the average build. So I'm fine with that. And outside of it being a little bit inconsistent with how many monsters now actually stack up and the density being generally lower, like I think I'm going a little bit out on a limb here because I'm trying to tie my general experience into it as I'm trying to make the point that it would have been great if they actually doubled down on the stealth theme and they would have made it so that it's not a linear dungeon. Because I think that's the biggest missed opportunity of the league, is if they had made it like big catacombs with more interconnected rooms, with like a network of rooms, with like more alternative ways to go than just a linear in and a linear out, then that would have made it so that you could actually sneak around the patrols. And then it would have made it maybe like generating alert level on being spotted rather than being killed, and maybe have it with like a delay, like enemies spot you and they try to run to like an alert button or like try to alert the superiors, or like, you know, and you can still kill them in between the time being spotted. And yeah, I don't know, like just more little mini mechanics around the stealth theme would have pleased me.
I think a lot of people would disagree with you and like not want stealth at all. But I think what that actually comes from is most of the time stealth is slow. When you play stealth games, it's like slowly crouch moving and stuff like that, right? And I think that doesn't fit in PoE. So, but I think you can do stealth in an action RPG fast though. So the idea of like someone running off the press button can be done fast and fluidly. And it's kind of like I get at odds with the idea of how stealth maybe should work in an action RPG, like fast, fluid, smooth stealth. That some of the like the doors and things like that take so long because they kind of feel like that, like slow walking through a corridor situation that that people might not really want from a stealth style game in an action RPG. So like I definitely think that the stealth could be done, but when you say doubling down on the stealth, I think people would disagree because of that idea.
Maybe
I was not interested in the stealth mechanic at all. I'm not. I'm here to murder things.
But you can do that quickly and stealthily, though.
Yeah, I understand that
mean?
point. All I'm trying to say is now it just feels a little bit too much generically like your general PoE gameplay. It's just running around, picking up loot and killing things, and there's very, very little interaction with the alert level thing. Outside of I mean, there's only the chests and the totems now, and yeah, having some more interactions there. And I agree that it would have had to be done in a way that it appealed to players who like to go fast. I get that, but like you said, it could be done, and maybe even some lab traps in there. I don't know. I just feel it's.
Oh God!
Suggestion.
Yeah, people would also hate that.
Do you just want people to hate you?
No, but you
put
could
lab
make it,
traps in there.
You could make it so that you could skip a longer route by going through a shorter route with lab traps, right? So it's still optional. You can still be fast and walk around it, but you can also be fast and walk through it. Be a little bit faster. I don't know. I just feel there's so many missed opportunities in order to make it like feel like a rich stealth heisting league. And now it's just a linear gauntlet with like some special monsters running around. And the piling up mechanic, I will say that the running out is still a lot of fun. It's a high pressure situation.
Agreed.
And it's generally, even without the code dot build, probably it is fun to like try to dash through the door that you land next to them or behind them, and you avoid being hit by the, blowing their load.
It's a little too inconsistent now. Yeah. Some of them feel very, very empty on the way out.
Yeah.
But some of them feel great still. They all felt great at the beginning. Maybe too many rares all stacked up at once was a thing. Like a lot of the bug changes and balance things they did, I'm super happy with. Like, we don't have 40 rares on top of each other with auras anymore. Now we have 7. That's more manageable. I'm on board with that. But sometimes, and I haven't figured out why, maybe it's up to what kind of mission it is, but sometimes I just encounter empty heists. Like you trigger the alarm and then you just run the map and kill like the 6 things you see on the way there to get out.
A couple.
And
like
I
it
don't know
didn't.
if it's like a reward, not like a reward tile, like a type of encounter or a tile set or something. But something in there is missing a lot of mobs. Most of the time, it feels decent on the way out, though. Just there's an occasional one that's literally empty. Like there's 6 mobs.
I really love the formation and like door preparation mechanic. Because so many times like the like big Omega Brap situations just kind of happen randomly and spontaneously in PoE.
Yeah.
But people dying indoors is like the funniest shit ever to me, and it's I think great because it's like there was every chance for them to prepare for that. It's like you see someone get lasered through a door, and you're like, I mean, like,
You opened
okay,
that door,
come
though.
on. I mean, you had every opportunity to prepare with that, and like even if you're playing a melee build, it's like I'm playing melee, I can't deal with that. It's like I mean, you still have tools, you still have like 5 different guard mechanics you could activate before going through the door, as well as like decoy totems and things like that you could use to set off their attacks.
Yeah,
Like
a totem you could plant and step to the side, and as they funnel through, kill them instead of just like, hello.
just run through. Every time I've died to a door, I've been like, oh yeah, I was an idiot. Whoops. I kind of like didn't expect there to be like a big pack there. I forgot to check the door, or I was overconfident and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I like that mechanic a lot. I hope we see more of that since they're kind of experimenting with this formation based thing. I even think that could like be a thing in maps. Like probably not like random monsters are going to be in formation, but if you've got like a bunch of blackguards in a map or something like that, why
Reminds
can't
me of
they
Legion.
set up a little shield wall or something? You're
Hmm.
muted, by the way, Cat.
Again. No. This time I was just muted for you.
Not stream this time.
What did I want to say? It reminds me a little bit of Legion. How they piled up information. But it's a little bit unfortunate that, especially now that the rewards have been somewhat nerfed, and that people are at the point of considering it not worth overmapping, I think it would be nice if you got experience for it. Maybe I'm demanding too much there, but like it's super rippy in comparison to maps.
It
At
did
least the
give
higher
very
ones.
good experience
It did.
at the beginning. People were leveling in there, like straight up leveling. Like I had a bunch of people who had done tier 1 maps only and were like level 89. They were just heisting the whole time. And now it just doesn't give any. I don't know why. I don't really know what part changed. I don't know if it's just less mobs or if they lowered the XP, but it's a lot lower now.
I saw a picture of a person who had only done the first sign, like Twilight Strand, and stepped onto the beach and then to get their first ever contract, and then hadn't progressed any further than that, and they were like level 50.
Nice.
They were trying to like, I think they were trying to like reach level 80 or something without having progressed past Act 1. You just miss ascendancies and like 20 passive points, but
Yeah.
other than that,
fine.
adventure mode is here.
So we were talking about that, and I don't think this heist mechanic is that far off being a legitimate alternate way to level.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's something you can go infinite in, is like, and is decent fun itself. Some people just would prefer the. I've always said like, I think leveling in PoE is actually a good experience compared to most action RPGs where you want to skip it.
I mean, I actually like leveling, but
yeah, and I think like the story's pretty good. Especially, we're gonna get a new one, hopefully that's a bit tighter and not quite as drawn out as the current one is, because the current one does drag on, especially in some of the later acts. But hopefully with PoE 2 that feels a bit better. But I know some people just prefer some repetitive thing they can just kill stuff and level.
But here's the thing though. What if you could heist and at certain level breaks you got a unique heist that would give you your skill points or regret points from leveling. At a certain point you would get a unique heist that was the equivalent of doing Katava 5. And what if we stole the tile sets from the leveling zone and say, instead of killing Piety, the story would be somebody killed Piety, we're gonna go steal her shit.
So what you're suggesting is we have like a heist, and the first heist is the Twilight Strand, and the second heist is the Mud Flats, and then the third
it
heist
would just
is Tidal
be
Island.
a lot more repetitive than leveling. It would just be a mapping experience, but every now and then you would throw in the big quests like those ones could have an equivalent, right? And it would just be stealing shit. You don't have to go fight Kataba. Kataba's dead. We're gonna raid his room full of riches that exist because I made them up. I don't know, right? Like we're just gonna go steal stuff. I don't think it would be that much of a stretch.
It's never gonna happen, by the way.
You don't like it?
No, it's never gonna happen. They're never gonna do this because you're just kind of like throwing away all the. You have to really accept that we're not gonna put any extra effort into the like campaign, and the campaign's not very good, so we're just gonna kind of toss it away. It's like you're gonna play through it once and then never again. They're never gonna do that unless they're willing to accept that, and I don't think they're willing to accept that. I think they want to make a good campaign and they don't want to throw it away.
See, I would like it only to happen to alts. Like I would still need, like an eventual. I'd still have to level through it first. I don't want it to start there. And personally, I don't actually mind leveling. I enjoy leveling, and I think it's because I don't do the exact same leveling thing every time, which is people are like, "Oh, this is the race strat. I must level this way." Whereas I try and use like the from the earliest I can. I'm the skill I'm going to be in endgame, and that keeps it interesting for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just thought it would. I don't know.
It's crazy to me that people do like
idea.
league after league. They start with Essence Drain or whatever. It's like, oh my god, how do you do that? It just blows my mind.
Look, the exact same build again.
The exact same thing. Like what?
Yeah. People again were like, "Are you gonna start dominating blow again?" I'm like, "But I just did that.
Yeah.
Like we did that. It's done now. Like I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play minions again, but a different kind, different kind." Now I'm sad. It's never gonna happen. We're not gonna get alternate leveling.
I'm still confused how it's gonna work in PoE too. Like we just get a new campaign and then you just choose.
Yeah, you just pick which campaign you want to run.
Yeah, you can choose. The new seasons will take place in PoE 2 campaign, but you can choose to level a character in the old school campaign if you want to, and then they both meet up at endgame.
Yep.
So they both converge to the same endgame. So it's like you can play PoE Classic effectively if you want to. The weirdest thing will be like the old ascendancies will be tied to PoE Classic. So
for new players, they'll have to run both campaigns to unlock.
Yeah, to unlock them. But I think once you have them unlocked, it'll be like having the Scion. You just have it from that point onwards, probably.
Yeah.
But say PoE 2 campaign is like way faster. Like why would anyone do Classic again?
You won't. Well, you won't unless you haven't run it before to like unlock stuff, or if you just miss it, want to give it a go. But yeah, I mean that's.
Do you think
that's
racing
fine.
would stay Classic or something?
I mean, it opens up the opportunity to have some classic races versus having current modern races, which is cool. Like, but I'd say most stuff will move to the new campaign.
Yeah.
It'll probably be far more interesting.
New campaign versus old campaign racing. Go.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Classic will be faster until people kind of nail down the leveling into. But there's a good chance that because I think they're doing 7 acts. I think that number seems right to me. Feels right.
Yeah,
but
it was 7.
Yeah, I think it probably will be a little bit faster than current one once people have like speed running strats down, unless they go with like a new design where like every boss has like a ton of phases and takes a really long time. In which case, it might end up taking a bit longer. I can actually see that being very cool and fun and cinematic and whatnot, but I could also see that really pissing off for a lot of people who are kind of zooms, having a lot of like mega phase bosses.
I think in line with what Chris says, if a player reaches the Atlas, then we basically own their soul. Like it might be wise for them to cut down the acts just a little bit, not too much, but I think a lot of people are also just don't like leveling characters because it takes so long to get back to maps. And for a lot of people, I don't agree with that necessarily, but the perceived actual game is mapping, and leveling is just an obstacle that people have to get through in order to get to the actual game. That's how a lot of people look at it. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it took a little bit less.
They could probably cut like 30-40% out of each of the last 5 acts right now, and it would be in a pretty good spot, which would ironically probably bring us down to 7 acts worth of content. So maybe that's kind of the idea there, because I feel like those last few acts really kind of drag on in a few places that could easily be cut out,
Isn't
like what they did in the
leveling
past.
isn't leveling basically just mapping?
You have to do things. You have to click green things and then put them in places.
Yeah, dude,
Yep,
like
there's an occasional extra click involved.
8
But otherwise, isn't it
inventory
just
slots. Dude, I can't pick up my loot. There's like so much stuff in my inventory while leveling.
I'll just hide more of it.
No, I mean the quest items. They're so big. They take so much stuff, space.
Hmm.
I think we need to get back. I really enjoy those side tracks, but I think we need to get back into some more heist discussion. I wanted to talk about. We talked actually about a lot of points already. The lockdown timer, reduced alert strat, the strats in general, how you walk through there, gearing your rogues, and of course the somewhat omnipresent problems, and that it's hard to keep track of so many changes. And we've already played 3 different versions of the league. But what do you guys think about marker costs? What do you think about, in general, the amount of markers that you get from monsters and maps versus how many markers you gain from doing regular contract heists versus the costs of fully augmenting grand heists?
Right now, I don't get enough grand heists to really like run out of markers too much, so it's felt pretty fine up to mid-end game. But if you're having like more luck and getting more grand heists, definitely it would be a bottleneck for sure. It's like I've just barely kind of dipped down to like a couple K markers here and there when I've ran some grand heists.
I don't get nearly enough markers. Drowning in grand heists.
Can I have some? I
Yeah,
swear
what
there's
the
a loot
hell?
seed situation going on. Some people are getting
If
none,
you put
some people are getting a ton, and then
if you put 4 sextants and 4 scarabs in your map device,
you definitely do get a lot
you will
more.
get a lot more.
Yeah, you definitely do get a lot more contracts in like side content and added content. So
Like I
sounds like
don't run maps that don't. My map, I got a 5-slot map device. It's full every time. There are
That's true.
sections on every map I run. I'm drowning in them, but we don't get more markers.
I'm kind of disappointed you don't get more grand heists in heists as compared to like you're going to get way more reducing maps than you get in. I've had one in a heist. Every other one is dropped from other content. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing that like the best way to get grand heists is through juicing maps rather than running heists.
Yeah.
It would
I
suit
actually
the whole
thought they would
intel
only come from running heists.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not more tied to it because like the idea of getting intel is from like running heists. So you'd think like a part of that intel would be like you discovered the location. We were doing when casing a joint, you discovered some intel that leads to a grand heist that you can take on their headquarters. Yada yada.
When you say intel, you mean the reveals, the reveal counter with the NPCs for
Well,
reveals?
I mean more like a conceptual way, like
okay.
when you're like robbing some corner store owned by a gang or whatever, and then you find out that you find out where their headquarters are from some of the paperwork that you found in their office or something. That's kind of like what a blueprint is to me. But instead they just randomly drop from beyond monsters for some reason have intel on heists.
Yeah.
Like the region. Like
I was gonna say that. Like that was the best generation of like heist content. Was I farmed 3 tier 13 maps with like 1.5 beyond, like beyond Sextant and beyond from the map device, and each of them had like 10 beyond bosses. And I feel like on every screen there was like 3 or 4 heist drops, like 2 contracts or blueprints and like piles of coins everywhere. Like really a lot with beyond and with additional stuff from scarabs and sextants.
They drop a lot more from magic and rare monsters. It's very easy to see if you're going to Adziri's zone because you get a lot of coin and contract drops from the Adziri blue champ mobs because they're all blue monsters in there. So you actually I think you get like 3 on average, 3 contracts on average from running Adziri. It's like I will say
get
that
3 on average from juiced maps. Just that Adziri gives you the
Yeah, I mean, they're a bit low level, right? But if you were doing Uber Adziri, then you're probably getting much higher level ones then. But
that's nice.
I really like that this is actually the first league ever where it works with all side content. So you could be a lab runner and you'll actually get contracts.
Yeah.
You can delve and you get contracts and coins and stuff. It's probably because it's not like you don't actually fight it in the zone, so it doesn't mess with the content. It's just like add a reward. But it actually makes all of the other side content in the game much more rewarding now.
My original plan was to finish up my entire Atlas and then only enter the Atlas again to get Delve Juice. And I was just gonna delve forever to get contracts and then heist forever. And that was gonna be my entire gameplay loop, was just delve and heist, and then just burn some maps here and there to get Delve Juice back. And just spend all my time in both of those things.
You seem to get a lot from Delve, for sure. I'd noticed that.
Yeah.
When you finish the run, a few, piles of coins drop out. And every time coins drop, it's basically like a contract could be dropping there, it seems.
Yeah. I really love that it's involved in all the side content, though.
Yeah, me too.
Suit must be really happy. Suit size small must be really happy.
Yeah, doing lab.
Yeah. Lab running can finally do the league.
Yep.
Well, Fluffy,
I'd
what's
be
the
real happy
limiting
about the
factor
lab
for you? Is it the rope markers or the grand heists? You said you did a handful of grand heists.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starved for grand heists. So it sounds like the play is like literally just skip heists until you're like red, and then you can spam them and after you're juicing up your shit. It sounds like from what you guys are saying. But all I've been doing is like I want to do all my heists or my contracts. So I just been like doing my maps as much as I can, and I have a whole bunch of heists to do, and I go and do as many as those. But it sounds like that's just really not the play at all. You should
just the same situation I was in, and why I wasn't really getting many grand heists either. I think that's kind of where the divide has come from. People who have like focused on other content have gotten a lot more grand heists than people who have focused on heists, which is back to front for sure.
Oh yeah.
So that's I think the problem we've run into, because I also spent most of my time heisting and barely had any grand heists until just recently, where I started doing some maps and doing some delves and running out Siri to see how good that was and stuff like that. And I'm getting a lot more.
Have you had a unique grand heist yet?
No, not yet. Don't spoil it.
I haven't been in yet. I dropped one yesterday and I want it.
Oh, exciting.
Yep. I want to go in.
There's still content they haven't released, right, as well.
Bunch of bosses missing
and stuff.
in there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like unique contracts as well. There's supposed to be quite a few of them.
See, that to me would be cool. Like, say there's like a boss room on the way that you have to like get through. Like that would be more interesting. Like say if you had rooms, right? Like that room's gonna be a boss room. That room's gonna be a trap room. To quote Catmaster, this room's gonna be a room where the guard, you have to kill him before you can reach an alarm, or whatever. Like that. That would be, I don't know. That'd just be more interesting than what we're doing right now. I feel like. But we'll see how it pans out. I'm sure this is not the final form at all.
Yeah, for sure. I do like bosses though, so kind of looking forward to seeing what the deal is with that. Is that content drop out yet, or have they said when that's coming?
I think next week.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I
haven't seen any posts on that
this coming week, but I don't know that they actually said it. I think that might just be me making assumptions.
I've seen a post though where they said that Harvest will be coming back in 3.13. Anyone else seen that?
Saw that?
No, what?
I haven't saw that.
We can do a quick interjection here. Wait.
That's not a real thing, is it?
In the past, they've said they're like, maybe we'll do something.
I do
with
like, on a tangent that we're bringing up past leaks, I like the synthesized items coming back. I really, really like that.
Yeah, I like getting synthesized items from Heist. It's always a little bit exciting to see, oh, what did it roll? And you're like, it was a dagger and it rolled 17% crit. I'm like, okay, that's worse.
Yep. I fractured 2 mana per hit under my wand.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I mean, I was one of like 5 people that I feel like liked Synthesis League, so I really like those items coming back.
No, everyone liked Synthesis League
What?
if they stayed until the end.
Oh.
Everyone quit with
If
them.
you were playing in the last month of the league, you loved a Synthesis League.
Yeah, it got really good. I did
If
like
you
it.
quit in the first 3 weeks, I understand why you hated it.
It's
and
pretty
you
Probably
hate
the
it
same as
forever.
Harvest, right?
Yeah, they've actually gotten a
If you
lot
quit
faster,
first.
haven't they? Like I feel like I remember that. I feel like I don't know, people aren't noticing that, but compared to like Synthesis, where it took them like months to get it right,
Yeah.
other ones they've got like Metamorph and Harvest and stuff, they got right within like a week or two. So
It's certainly taken a lot less time.
yeah, so I think they've gotten a lot faster at like their league. Like, think their league launches is always going to be something scuffed. I think there's any avoiding it. With the rate they're putting out content and whatnot, and like how complex the game is in general, it's going to be scuffed. So if they can fix it within like a week or two, then I honestly think that's fine for most people. Just I guess some people kind of only play for a week, so it's not good for them, which is a bummer. But what can you do?
Right. It's crazy, like that they even turn around that fast. Like they don't have a PTR or anything. Like they're literally like the league launch is the PTR, which is crazy.
And as much as people say they would like want a PTR, I don't actually think it would be good for the game. Like,
people get bored of it.
Would be a bit less. I mean, it would be the excitement would be over before it began.
That definitely is the case with Diablo 3. It's like the PTR comes out and then everyone figures out all the best stuff, and then the league comes out and
like whatever. You're excited for the PTR, but not for the actual thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you get a less. You actually get a less finished game because you end up just playing the like PTR and not the thing, and then your overall ultimate experience ends up being a worse one. I think.
Yeah. I actually agree with that. And there's that case too where it's like something's really exciting, people are hyped for something on PTR and people making build video guides and stuff, and then it comes out on launch and it's like nerfed in the shit. And so it's like everyone's like, oh, this league's over. Right. Like so there's that as well. So I definitely agree that they're doing it right. It's just, obviously it's a lot. So they're gonna get stuff wrong. And that's the thing that I said about this, like before this league even started, I was like, even if you hate doing the heists, like there's still so much to sink your teeth into it. Like it's crazy. Like replica uniques, alternate skill, like what's like, that's just insane the amount of content that they do.
What?
The amount of like reward and different types and stuff like that and content in this is, I think, by far the most I've ever had. I don't think there's ever been this much. Like, cluster jewels were super impactful. Like, they had a major impact on builds.
Yeah.
But there was still basically only cluster jewels and not much else going on then. What was it like? What was the other thing in that league? The other reward?
There was another reward?
Delirium orbs?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't really a reward. They're like the league. That's like the league mechanic.
Yeah.
So
True.
much. So was there even another reward? It was something. I swear there was something. But it's still, I mean, that's the point, right? I don't even remember. It's like, what was Metamorph? It was like catalysts? Is there anything else in Metamorph? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, catalysts and blight was annoying.
And what do we normally get? Like 20 odd uniques?
Yeah.
How many did we get this time?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
many.
But no, this time you got replica uniques, you got alternate bases, you got the enchanted things, you've got alternate quality skill gems, some of which are actually pretty damn interesting. In addition to like all the other loots. I think I'm missing something as well. So
yeah. Anytime I see Reddit thread or people are like, GGG has no idea what they're doing, blah, they're grab company. I'm like, man, go play Diablo 3 for a bit and like see the rate of like it just quit crying, dude. It's like not a lot of games on the internet get more content than PoE. Like it's pretty crazy.
I've been regularly getting mad at people.
You just basically called all PoE players spoiled.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. You're spoiled.
I mean, we are.
That's true.
we are, and they know that.
It's very true. We're very spoiled, and it's easy. It's very easy to lose sight of that for sure.
Yeah, it's I'm sure that they know we're spoiled, but I've been getting mad at people for stuff like that too. When they're like, I'm like, it's fine to be critical. You're allowed to not like things.
Absolutely.
You're allowed to say this mechanic is shit and I don't enjoy it, or this is not rewarding. What happened? But I've been getting really mad every time somebody's like, Reed, they even beta test? Nobody cares. They have no idea what they're doing. And I'm like, are you just like, what? Are you listening? Like,
yeah.
Like you
can
not like the league, you can hate stuff, but like, it's just like more than 100 people who are more passionate than any developer I've ever seen, whose only job is to make you have fun. Like they make mistakes. And they don't have time to do shit, and lockdown stuff can affect them. And you can hate the decision, and you can get angry and be like, this is a bad mechanic that I don't enjoy. But I've been getting real mad at people when they start being like, they don't even care.
Right. And in that post where they're like, oh, it's been pretty smooth, and people are like raging over that. Like, you got to imagine, like, you're probably in the 1% if you are like really encountering a ton of issues, like because you're playing 12 plus hours a day. Like for the normal person, like, yeah, it was probably a pretty smooth launch.
It was super
So
smooth and launched itself, I think. Like, I didn't even crash
yeah.
once. Like, not once.
That's
The whole day.
that's such a crapshoot. For some people, like, yeah, they play it an hour a day, but they crashed like in the 3 heists that they ran. They only had time to run 3 heists, and they crashed in all of them. And that's like a
Okay.
mega bummer, right? So like, it's a crapshoot. Some people completely dodge it, even if they play a shitload. Other people don't dodge it
Yeah.
at all and have a miserable experience. So it's all over the place. I mean, this is just the beautiful dysfunctional relationship, us, the community, and GGG have. They release amazing content that's a bit scuffed, and some people have a lot of crashes, and we rage out, and then they make things really beautiful, and we love them. Then we rage out some more.
Yeah. Different people rage out, but that's fine.
Beautiful. Dysfunctional.
People rage, but
Codependent.
they're still addicted and playing 15 hours a day. So
Yep.
I think we're doing okay.
This would be a
Yeah.
very unhealthy relationship if this was like 2 people.
Right.
I would be recommending counseling.
Yeah. It's fine because it's hundreds of thousands of us and 100 of them in an office, and it's separated. They would not be good. Oh, that's bad.
It is good to remember, though, that there are some real people on either side. So sometimes it definitely does go a bit far.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I feel like I used to get angrier until ExileCon when I met them all.
Yeah, I mean,
And that like flicked a switch in my head. Like, I always knew there were real people, but then you meet all the real people, and then that's
100%
changes everything.
That's 100% a thing. It's like very easy to judge or be horrible to people that you've never really met.
Yeah. And then we went and we met them all, and like they were all so nice and so friendly and so passionate and so happy to be there, and they were all as excited to talk to us as we were to talk to them, and it was just like now I can't. Now there's this extra like level of I understand these are real human beings that just didn't feel like it was there before. I didn't know that I wasn't thinking that until we met them, and then was like, oh yeah, no, okay. And now I'm like so much more forgiving and less aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, when I met the D3 team, like the 4 of them, it was it's the same way. I mean, it's a really crazy small team, so it's amazing they push out what they do, even though it's like by PoE standards, it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel for them too. It's just like they're the nicest people in the world, and it's just the community just gets so salty because we all want more, But they're doing the best with what they got, and it's not up to them.
I think the craziest result of people who haven't like had that kind of chance to kind of put a person to it is that they feel like there's some sort of malicious intent. I see this all the time in comments, like either something about them like hating the community or like that they're trying to ruin something, or they're trying to like vindictively ruin your Path of Exile experience with some decision. Like
they're out to get you.
That puzzles me so much. Like, why would you think that? Why would you think someone's trying to hurt you? Like that they're trying to ruin your experience or ruin the game or something like that. So then they did something and something got missed, or it came out a little bit scuffed, or there was a mistake, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like me, like I played Poison Assassin like all the time. And then like, Assassin gets hit because it's so good with other things. Like how could they possibly factor in like every build decision?
Because they personally
with
don't
every change. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They looked you specifically up.
Right.
It was like, how can we ruin his
That
entire
guy's
life
experience,
with only the game? And then did those things.
Yep. Tinfoil hat.
See, I don't have that luxury of having met them, so I can be 100% neutral and 100% negative without taking into consideration that there's other people involved, actual human beings. No, but all jokes aside, I have big respect for Path of Exile. I know what they're capable of. Grinding Gear Games has grown amazingly, and throughout the years, they've not really deviated much from their path of trying to make one of the best, if not the best, hardcore action RPG out there. And despite the fact that it has moved a lot away from its original hardcore elements, there's still roots of that in the game, and there's still some hardcore elements that won't go away, at least not anytime soon. And just the amount of content that they bring out all the time. I think the biggest gripe that I could have with them is that sometimes I feel maybe they're a little bit too ambitious on their really short production cycle, but that's only because they want to bring us the biggest expansion possible with the most content possible. And I feel like with something like Heist, maybe they should have saved that for Christmas or for afterwards and done something a little bit simpler. And yeah, that's really backseat developing here. I
bet that if you ask them, are you guys too ambitious? Sometimes they'll all be like, yeah.
Probably true.
Probably.
I bet they know. Like, but they've got huge ideas.
It's much better than the alternative of them really just like phoning it in. I've never felt like they've just phoned in a league. Like, even though that was supposed to be Harvest, like they were kind of saying that they just phoned it in on Harvest. Like this was just kind of like them doing something easy because of COVID and whatnot. But I didn't really feel like Harvest was phoned in though. Like I still felt like there was like a ton of effort behind that, and the crafting mechanic being so impactful and whatnot.
It didn't feel like they phoned it in at all. I remember them saying that, like, oh, this was like a last minute pivot. We just threw this one together.
Yeah.
Trying to downplay it, but it was still pretty big.
But yeah, it's an interesting point, Kat. I'm surprised this isn't the one where they kind of like took a little bit easier and then had more stuff geared up for Christmas. I don't know really what the plan is there. Guess we'll find out in good time.
They just
we can only assume the Christmas League is bigger and better.
You can't just keep going bigger and bigger. This is the problem with capitalism. Endless growth.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good topic. The scope of leagues has been going bigger and bigger, and people expect more and more, and that's like parallel with also the expectations for loot. I believe like since Legion League, like people have been getting used to slightly bigger loot explosions every league, and I think part of the backlash, at least now with the nerfed rewards, after they adjusted the difficulty level, where originally the rewards in Heist were balanced around the higher challenge and monsters on kill generating alert level, and now that that's not the case anymore, they adjusted the rewards to compensate kind of, and the outrage is probably also partially so big because people are just getting used to insane loot explosions in PoE.
Harvest kind of like reeled that back in a bit because it gave us a league without loot explosions at all. Like there was basically no loot in Harvest, right? Apart from like people using it to like giga juice their maps.
Yeah,
but for the average player, it wasn't like
for most people there was
like
nothing.
20 currency. Yeah, most people got nothing from it apart from the crafting. But I mean, it showed that another alternate structure can work. I think at the very least. But yes, if you're looking for an answer, it's like, how do they continue sustaining perpetual growth? I mean, isn't that the question? Hey, the answer is you do not. Eventually, you either run out of resources or
you can't get any bigger.
Collapses.
Yeah.
Something collapses. Just like the real world.
Which is another one of those PoE 2 probably fixes that. They don't have to keep growing forever.
That's true. PoE 2 is a chance for a reset.
They have to keep keeping people happy until you hit PoE 2, where you hit a big reset button. Everyone gets to slow down, the rewards can go back down, and no one will know what to expect. And it'll be okay. And you get to start from there again.
You can make less impactful. Like, you can make less things more impactful so that you can go back to kind of, instead of having like a screen pop of loot, you can have like 5 things, and those things are still exciting.
Yeah. The loot in Heist. Has anyone noticed how much better it is?
What do you mean?
Well, they're trialing the lucky drop system of
loot.
The
that's specifically for the enchanted items and things like that. It might be getting used in some other places because I found some items like, I wonder if this was like multi-rolled.
Positive it's getting used from everything that comes out of those boxes. And because I mean, I'd be happy if they told me no, I'd be shocked. But the amount of good items that I've taken out of there compared to I don't pick them up in maps anymore because they're not worth it, but I'm still picking up jewelry in Heist
Placebo.
because so many good things are coming through.
Yeah, I don't know, because when I pick up the jewelry from the chests, I look at them and I'm like, none of them look like that. But when you look at the items that have been enchanted, right, they look like they've gone through the system because you're like, this is a tri-LE attack speed weapon. Like you can see that they've been rolled with some sort of like computerized intent towards them. Like this item has been rolled for the best possible physical results. This item actually has life and resists. You see a lot of that from the enchanted items, but I have not noticed that at all from the other chests.
Am I imagining it? I could be imagining it. I don't think so.
Unless there's like different tiers of the system where they're like putting it through a lighter version of it. Like instead of rolling it 20 times and taking the best result, maybe they're rolling like 3 times and taking the best result or something. But I really haven't noticed that at all. Just been lucky, dude.
Am I imagining it? I could be imagining it.
There's such a big difference between like the enchanted items that have definitely gone through that system and the other stuff.
Hmm.
I think you just got
Now
OP
I'm
luck,
wondering.
OP RNG with your jewelry drops.
Hmm.
But I love that system for the like this little taster of that new item generation system is sick.
Smart
I love
loot.
seeing those items. I actually, yeah, I mean, kind of in a way.
It's a
Not getting
feature.
like class specific drops or anything, but
Right.
the multi-rolling of the items is working out quite well. Like I see those items and I'm like, I can always tell like, you know, something decent has kind of happened here. Like they're often not quite there. And there's a lot of tri-LE weapons which are not really builds in current year, but it's
But
like
if,
10 years too late for the
but if
tri-LE
all
foils.
if all loot in the game dropped like that through that system, you could
Yeah.
have way less of it and it would be fine.
Yeah, I think they could roll this out now where like there would probably be some small follow-on problems. Animate weapon builds would be unhappy, but they could cut down the amount of loot by like 20 times and then put it through the system. And I think it'd probably be better. But
Any highlights on the new bases or like on the enchanted bases that you can find there? I've seen a couple of different ones. I've seen the Elemental Overload, the Elemental Equilibrium Scepter. But
Yeah.
anything crazy?
I've seen a few. I haven't really been like super blown away by any of those that I've seen or found. I kind of like the Scorch on Block Shield. I think there's like a Sap on Block Shield as well. Might be a bit of 1-2 maybe. But
I
I
missed
kind
that.
of like those. But I feel like that's probably going to take a little bit more time to play out in terms of when we start like seeing a bit more use of those, whatnot. I like the idea of them, but yeah, no real excitement there yet. I don't think.
Is everyone
Well,
here Trade League?
I'm doing a private trade league, so
Ah.
kind of not really. Very different economy, but still trading, tradable.
One of the biggest private leagues, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we might have the record just by virtue of the fact that we're the first. This is the first league since they raised the cap. So before it was capped at 2K, and we hit that, but now we're
didn't
at
realize they raised the cap.
3.5K.
What's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
new cap?
it's like 10,000 now. So
Oh,
basically,
that's better.
yeah, the only way you could reach that is if like Mathel and Crip and Quinn all got together to make a private league. Maybe then you could reach that. But no, we're at 3.5K, which is pretty crazy.
That's better.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the difference in the economy between like the last league, which was 2K capped, this one, and then
What's
mainly.
your chaos worth? Like, how much can you buy an Exalt for?
So last league we were consistently 50 chaos to an Exalt, and if you remember, it was like 200 chaos to an Exalt in trade because of botting and whatnot. I think this league we're 60, 70, Sathariel says. Yeah, 60
That's
to
not
70.
far away from trade.
Yeah, we're a bit closer this time around.
It's like 80 chaos now because there aren't bots. But that's
yeah, I think like that's probably the biggest difference is like the botting isn't quite as extreme this league. Also, there's more chaos sinks, I think, this league as well.
Why would there not be as much potting this league? Did I miss something?
So 2 theories, but they're both theories. I have no idea. I'm not a programmer. I have no idea what they did. But here's how I know there are less bots. Anytime you like in any trade league ever, if you go to Act 3 town, you can watch them in droves. You can watch them come out in little groups of like 10 to 12 to just wander around in this exact same path like little ants. You can always see them. They're not there anymore. They're just not. So 2 theories. One, the entire restructure of the client and how everything worked, requiring a 20-something odd gig download, broke them all, and now they can't run. Two, has anyone noticed that occasionally some of your maps are slightly skewed to what you actually see in game?
You reckon that might be messing with bots?
Maybe?
I mean, you can change that with the settings, so probably not. Because if that was messing with the bots, they could just turn that setting off. The
Except that's
camera.
the rotating setting from like how Veritania does it.
Yeah, if you change that,
Yeah.
if you go into the Rogue Harbor and toggle that on and off, you can actually see the Rogue Harbor ships. For some reason, they did that.
Mine doesn't do that.
Go into the Rogue Harbor now and click the button.
Oh, I'm not going to try PoE. I'm tethered to my phone.
Oh, right, okay.
I've closed every
Just
program
do it.
that isn't Discord.
Because people kept asking me, why is your Rogue Harbor different, Ziggy? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I actually tried that setting, and the
Trying
whole
it right
town
now.
is rotated
It's-
like 20 degrees.
It's most likely the first one. They restructured the entire game
Oh wow,
and made us re-download everything.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
mind blowing.
that's
isn't
a
it?
huge
That might have
difference.
broken.
That's why everyone's like, your thing looks different. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
wow.
I suspect the bot people will just, figure it out and come back because that's
Yeah,
the fight
fine.
that you always do with bots.
That's the
know.
endless battle.
Yeah.
I'm surprised though. I thought most bots used screen recognition rather than like direct hooks into the game client, because aren't direct hooks like much easier to detect? But then again, I don't really know.
I've literally no idea. All I know is for sure is that they're not there, and
Yeah.
that they usually are. And I can see them in droves normally.
Yeah,
And we
maybe.
hung out there in town for like half an hour and saw like 3 that might have been, but they didn't come out together. So it could have just been a very predictable player who
It'd be
did very precise movements, and I wouldn't know.
Sure, yes. It'd be interesting if in like a week or two, chaos prices spike in Trade League as like maybe bots figure out the new structure or something like that.
Yeah,
If that's the problem.
maybe.
But
I expect
apparently there was a ban wave too, so that could also be impacting it. So
But they haven't even. I don't even think they've made it to 100, or they did for like a second and then just went back down. They're like 80 chaos. It's ridiculous.
yeah. Apparently,
Well, I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
buyers.
Trade
Yeah,
league.
SSF for life.
What are your exalts worth and also found?
A lot.
A lot. I only
Yeah.
got 3. How many did you get, Fluffy?
So far.
None so far. But you get some
None so
exalt
far.
charts from your heists?
Mm-mm.
Not?
What? Not heaps of
I'm
exalts.
from the lockpicking missions with cars, they pretty reliably get like
Yeah,
exalt
I've
charts every
ton.
other time.
I mean, literally after this, I'm just gonna focus Atlas and then go back when I hit like T15s or something.
Fair.
Yep.
That's probably the play.
Yeah, or try the side content like Alva temples, delves, right? I mean, you're doing that as that ramps up, right?
Yeah.
Should be getting contracts and blueprints from that. But I also heard like, and that's something really unfortunate. I heard that some people haven't gotten a single blueprint at all, like in a significant amount of playtime. And I've also heard from other people. I'm shaken by disbelief, but I'm shaking my head in disbelief when people say that. But some people are very, very insistent on having not gotten any master missions since White Maps. Some people in my chat are like, I don't get any master missions at all.
The two things happen every league is like they nerfed map drops, and then the master missions aren't working. The problem is this has actually been true in the past, where like actually there was a master mission bug, and actually there was a map drop problem where like alks were eating your maps or something. So it has actually happened, which just kind of confirms it, makes it much harder to distinguish reality from whether it's just the new league jitters, effectively.
But
Yeah.
also, both of those things are directly influenced by how much of your Atlas you have completed, which you probably just spent 2.5 months with a finished Atlas, and then we're back to one that has no completion.
Yeah, that and the league mechanic and whether it actually pays out those things, like whether you actually get maps from it or not. Which you don't really get many from Heist. Technically, one of the rewards is maps, but yeah, you don't really run into it too much.
No, but it's also like I think it's bound to character. Like I don't know how it works all, but like there's some people who suspect that there's like seeds rolled on characters that determine how things work for that character. And I mean, I know this is all very tinfoil hat stuff, but there's definitely people who said they didn't get any master missions, and then they rerolled and made a new character, and they did get master missions on that one.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem because it is massive tinfoil hat, but it has been
No.
true in the past. There was
Yeah.
seeds in Delve. I experienced it where
It's
I
true.
didn't get any prime resonators at all, and other people were getting dozens. And then on a different character, I got a bunch.
Also, I can tell you what definitely is a thing. If you suddenly don't get map drops at all, and you run a bunch of maps and you don't get them at all, if you change your hideout and change it back, it actually fixes it. There is a loot seed hooked up to your hideout. I'm positive. I'm telling you, there's something to do with it. Not only that, if you can't spawn a conqueror, and you've done like 20 maps and you should have spawned a conqueror by now, change your hideout. It'll spawn. I'm telling you.
God damn it.
I'm telling you, it's a real thing.
What a debate.
It's a real thing.
It's confirmation bias.
Like the Fox News of podcasts. Oh gosh.
No, it's real. I swear, I'm not imagining this. I swear it's real.
Yeah, well,
it sounds so tinfoil hatty.
I mean, I can see how it would work, like, because you do create the instances in your hideout instance, and that instance stays the same. But it should also, like, change. That should be fixed in an overnight sleep when the instance is reset anyway, or when you, like, leave the game.
It does.
That, like, fixes the problem, you reckon?
Yeah. It also fixes it. Any way you can reset your instance will give you a new seed for your map drops and conqueror spawns and things like that. Like I'm positive about it. They're tied to your hideout instance.
Alright, that makes it a bit less crazy then if it's like being fixed by that as well, and not just some, rub your belly and pat your head kind of stuff.
No. Yeah. Any version of getting a new hideout instance will do. It's just that the only way to force one yourself, unless you know how to crash the game, is change it and change it back.
You're about to tell us that you can cure COVID with warm weather and stuff too, or?
Come on, it's real, I swear.
One thing that is real for sure, all bugs and like tinfoil hat character seeding theories aside, what happened for me was that I realized that I couldn't drop tier 10 maps when I was trying to drop them because I didn't have any on my atlas because of my watchstone setup. So like, I do recommend that, especially to players who don't play as much as I do, check your atlas, check your watchstone setup, whether you can actually drop the maps that you're trying to drop. I always say that. And for some people, like, 1 to 10% is like, oh yeah, you're right. Like you can enter in the search field on your atlas, you can enter numbers without even tiered colon or something like that. Just straight up enter 10 or 11 or 12, and it will highlight maps of that tier. If you're trying to drop tier 11 maps and you enter 11 in that thing and nothing's highlighted, then you know why you're not dropping them. Another thing that I wanted to mention that we haven't touched on, even though it's a little bit out of order and everything, is contraband clearing, cheesing the mechanic. Do you guys know what that is? What that point on my list means?
They're the people that pop out of the instance without triggering the end.
Yeah.
They just go in, take a bunch of loot, and when they're nearly about to trigger the mechanic, they just leave. So they can keep all their loot. And they don't have to do the mechanic, the fight the way out thing. Yeah,
they can't fail the thing, basically. But also, you can also, if you go into the heist and you say you find an exalt from the first chest, but it still has the contraband symbol, right? So if you crash or if you fail, like log out, die, then you lose it. But if you just dip out real quick into the, like outside of the exit where you zoned in and you go back in, it's cleared off. Then you can keep it. Yeah, the contraband symbol disappears by just leaving the thing. So
my God.
That's a little bit, yeah. I really hope that that's one of the points that they still tackle with one of the upcoming redesigns. And I hope that they hook it in with the lack of experience that you gain from it. So, like, I think I saw that in a Tarky Cat video. He had the suggestion where, like, what if a heist would actually give your character experience on completion? Like a nice chunk of experience, similar to how Betrayal gives you experience when you click the button, right?
Yeah, that would be
and
cool.
Then that would incentivize people to do that, to actually finish the heists over cheesing the mechanic and walking out with the contraband without engaging with it.
That would be cool to have more reward for that, but I also don't think I have a problem with people leaving.
Oh yeah,
You
it
had
doesn't
to-
impact me.
What if you had to get the artifact to get the contraband?
Well, it says I don't think that would be good. Like, I feel fine with the option of just, stealing some stuff and then bugging out. I feel like that's okay. I mean, the only reason that it's a thing really is because picking up the thing at the end doesn't really give you anything. Just some rogue markers.
Mm-hmm.
If there was even something as small as a chunk of XP from actually completing it, way less people would do it. That's at least what I think would happen.
There's that rogue XP. And sometimes there's safes in there too.
Those safes are pretty good.
Yeah, safes
Oh,
not
yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
They pay out sometimes.
I could
They're easy
use
to
some more of
miss.
those.
They like gave them really subtle labels, so they're very easy to miss.
I'm really happy the chat likes to bully me because I miss them every time. And they're like, "Excuse me, sir. There's 2 safes in that room." And I have to like turn around and go back again. I wouldn't pick up a single one on my own.
Yeah,
I bet there's a bunch of people missing them.
it gets me because they're not always there, so sometimes it's easy to miss them because you don't always expect to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a mega problem if like people are leaving to secure their drops, but maybe being able to like come back in is it would screw with like Grand Heist maybe, but being able to come back in after you leave, like maybe that should be a commitment leaving. Because we had 2 exalts drop in one heist, so I gave Amy one of the exalts. She left, secured the exalt, came back in. Then the other exalt dropped. She took that out, came back in, and then we finished the heist. So it's like that definitely feels like we're cheating.
It felt a little bad.
Yeah, if you want to
I
leave
mean,
because you
felt
got
good,
something
man.
you really like, it should be like you should commit to it because you don't get to see the
abandoning
rest. Yeah.
heist. Then they like figure it out. They set off the alarm when you leave or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't want to have it where you only get all the contraband if you get the artifact, if you complete it successfully. I think it's cool that you can choose to not do that and to not get your return and rogue markers and to basically go out with a negative rogue marker balance out of the job, but you got your loot and you got it secure and you don't have a lot of stress. I think that's cool as an option. I like that.
It could just be that using the door to leave the wing or heist sets off the lockdown, and then like you can technically come back in, but everything's locked down at that point, so there's not much point.
It's a fire exit.
Yeah, when you open the door, it goes wee. Exactly.
Yep.
All right.
That would work.
What would be a huge buff for the lockdown timer increased strat over the reduced alert, but yeah, would definitely be possible. Yeah, I think we talked ourselves kind of through the entire heist thing. Is there any points that you guys still want to mention, bring up? The 2 hours flew like nothing.
You mentioned quality gems, and I made notes. It was the only thing I did make notes on.
Quality gems.
Yeah, the alternate quality gems.
Alternate, yeah.
You like them?
I made a list. You want to hear my list?
Yes. Let's go.
Okay, I made a list of alternate quality gems that are good for nearly everyone, or potentially good for your build, regardless of what you're playing. Because it's a fucking long list of alternate quality gems, so it's pretty hard to actually find stuff. So faster casting has an alt quality for cooldown recovery. Now, faster casting is normally extra cast speed, so if you're using it predominantly for cast speed, then you won't want this. But you can put this on a utility skill and get cooldown recovery in addition to the cooldown recovery support. So it's 10% for 20 quality, but that's 10 cooldown recovery is quite good. So that's definitely one to keep an eye out for. Cast when damage taken has a 20% increased duration, which is also very good for utility skills. Most utility skills are duration based, so having some duration on that, and the normal quality is like damage or something, so that's useful. So that's an easy upgrade for nearly every build. Second Wind, you can exchange some cooldown recovery for +1 extra use, which in some cases is far better than extra cooldown. So if you want an extra use rather than a little bit more cooldown recovery, that's also a very good trade. I think you have to get to 20 quality for it, but GCPs are dropping like candy this league, it seems. Arcane Cloak has 2 that are pretty good. So if you're playing an Archmage build, mana gained when hit, so Battle Rouse style effect. And buff effect, which is both the lightning damage and I think also the shield that it gives you too. So that makes it more mana efficient effectively. So you trade off cooldown recovery for that, which is good, but buff effect is probably stronger. Arctic Armor is an interesting one that people have been kind of abusing a bit. It gives freeze enemies when hit, and people have been using like Hiltless to reflect off of enemies so that they're constantly getting hit by them and perma-freezing things. It's probably going to get nerfed, but maybe
you can link Prolif with it. I heard it.
Yeah.
So.
So I mean, even if you're not abusing it with like a reflect mechanic, that's still pretty good. And yeah, if you want to link Prolif, that will increase the reservation a bit, but still pretty nice.
Is Urgent Orders on your list?
No, I don't have Urgent Orders.
There's an alternate quality. You know how they nerfed Enduring Cry, so you don't get the guaranteed endurance charge anymore?
Yeah.
Right? The alternate quality Urgent Orders makes it so that linked Warcry gems always count as having +10 power. So that's you're guaranteed 2 endurance charges back. So it's basically really better than before. But at the cost of +2 cooldown again. And they already nerfed the cooldown from 6 to 8 seconds, so you'd go to base cooldown 10 seconds. But for heavy invested builds in endurance charges, which have endurance charge duration on the tree anyway, from picking up the small nodes in front of the endurance charges, that's really good because you'll still be able to sustain your endurance charges regardless of whether there's enemies nearby or not.
Yeah, that's probably a little better for multi-Warcry setups as well, essentially. Last one. Blood Rage can give you frenzy charge on hit versus rares and bosses, which it doesn't normally do. Normally it's only on kill. So if you want frenzy charge generation in boss fights, that's one of the alternate qualities. Or it has elemental leech, which can be difficult to get sometimes on some spots of the tree. So if you're like, I would love to use Blood Rage for leech, but it's only physical leech, you can actually get a quality to give elemental leech. It's not a lot. It's like 0.4, but on some attack builds, especially fast hitting ones, that can be good. Convocation is an interesting one. It unnerves nearby enemies for 4 seconds. You don't need to be a summoner to take advantage of that. Blade Blast does the same thing. If you've ever just put Blade Blast on cast when damage taken, you can use it to unnerve enemies, which gives you them 10% increased spell damage taken. But this is an AoE around your character, and might be a little bit better than Blade Blast. So worth considering. Dash has travel distance and phasing on cast, so you can get phasing from dash, which is kind of pog. So if you don't have another good source for that, jewels are probably better in most cases, but could be nicer in boss fights where the jewels don't activate to get phasing with dash if you've got some sort of contextual boss for that or something.
In a trade league, almost everyone you've mentioned so far is very cheap too. People just
I
aren't
think a lot of
looking
these
them
are
up.
really cheap.
Yeah, but they're very cheap, very easy to add in.
And I got my last 2 ones are for fire builds mainly. So if you're playing a fire build, Flame Wall has fire exposure, which is -10 fire resistance. So if you're having trouble getting exposure or you don't use Wave of Conviction, you're already using Flame Wall, the ult quality gives fire exposure to lower their resist. And Fire Penetration is an interesting one. Ignited enemies you hit are destroyed on kill. So corpse destruction with Fire Penetration. So a lot of fire skills, we're already going to use Fire Pen as one of their main links, right? It's just a good, boss damage support. This will make sure that you destroy corpses as long as the enemies are getting ignited, which if you're any kind of fire build, unless you're using elemental focus, you're going to be igniting. So that's my list of gems.
Nice.
Good list. I like that last one. I like any form of corpse removal.
I'll just post it in chat.
Please. The question was asked whether we can get that in chat. I think I have 2 additions to make, and one of them would be increased critical strikes has an alternate quality that generates power charges on kill, which is like just great for mapping if you don't get power charges elsewhere. And that might be useful. I mean, I think the regular quality is just increased critical strike chance, which you probably have more than enough of, and you're just using ink crit for the base crit most of the time that it grants. And Divine Ire, normal quality gives increased AoE, which doesn't affect the beam portion of the skill. The increased AoE on the regular Divine Ire quality, or increased AoE in Divine Ire builds in general, only affects the initial circle that you cast while channeling up the skill, but the final beam has like a fixed length and width. But the alternate quality gives beam width up to 10%. I think that's cool. Girthy beam.
Nice.
Is there any alt quality gems for your build, Fluffy, that you aspire to have?
You know, I'm an SSF player, so it's mostly like, oh, what am I gonna get? Instead of like dreaming about some build or some drop that's never gonna happen for me.
So you didn't look at the list in order to not get your hopes up?
I always scour through and like I'll keyword Control F poison, Control F chaos, but it's just a dream.
You just wait until you actually get something to drop and then be like, cool, I'll use that. Yeah. That looks interesting.
Yep.
I found 2 Faceted Lens in a single Grand Heist yesterday. I just snuck on. Sorry, viewers.
Wow,
they're watching right now. I did an off-stream thing. I found 2 Faceted Lenses yesterday, so I'm probably going to do some alt qualities. But I found you can't do it if there's 0 quality, so I need to find some GCPs because I used all mine.
Do they just need 1%?
Yeah, I think they just need 1%. I tried to use it on my Hex Blast, which is 0 quality, and it said, there's no quality on this. I'm like, oh. But Hex Blast has got like damage with ailments and effective non-damaging ailments and chance to not remove a Hex and cast speed instead of AoE. All of those are good. I already have tons of AoE. So those are all sick. So I'm going to Facet Lens my Hex Blast, I think. I know I cheated on you, viewers, chat. Sorry. I did an off-stream thing, naughty. I've just been so sick. I'm sorry. Couldn't stream. Still wanted to heist.
Still want to play though.
Yeah, that's it.
That's generally a good sign, though.
Yeah. I mean, even when I'm like pretty crook, I was still just like, I'm just gonna sneak on for quick grand heist.
I can fit it half an hour. It's fine.
So
what's been your like favorite?
Is enough.
What's been your favorite build of all time in your whole history of Path of Exile?
I get asked this all the time, but builds are such a product of their time that to compare them to like modern times, like they're definitely not. And I definitely had like a more favorite build later, but at the time I freaking loved it. So there's like it's probably more of a list than anything. Okay, so my list is as quick as I can. Full poison, max duration, projectile speed, scaling spark with Voltaxic Rift before they nerfed the conversion. That was when you could double dip, and duration scaling on spark was insane. So you just shoot out tons of spark projectiles and they would just stay on the map for like ever, poisoning things. And increased duration also scaled poison duration then. So it was that was super fun. Love that build. Yep. Another one was Reach of the Council, Tornado Shot, Bleed. That's when I don't know if you could double dip them, but Puncture was insane. It's really insane again now, actually, with Asylum. So I've kind of like been reinvigorated there, but Reach of the Council used to be absolutely nuts. You guys don't remember when it first came out. It was incredibly nutty, and it was kind of like that and Bleed Bow Gladiator recently have been my probably favorite bow builds in a long time. And there's just not a lot of love going on for bows these days, so it's a bit sad. Another one was Freeze Pulse, Cold to Fire, Fire to Chaos. When conversion,
I remember that one.
You could do the full conversion for it. I brought the meme back a little bit this league because they added some quality. Quality Cold to Fire is poison damage, so the alternate quality for it. So I'm like, oh my god, it's my build. So that was actually that was consuming dark, poison prolif. Everything was super OP. I eventually ended up changing to Magma Orb then because it was not long after Magma Orb came out, and that ended up being really good as well. So it was like poison proliferating, full conversion, chaos conversion shenanigans. It was so very glorious. Oh, I loved it. Discharge cast on crit back in the day when you could just shield charge around or cyclone around, and it was super busted. That was really fun playing shield charge, discharge, or cast on crit. I was a bit late to that party, but it was really good. And then even some simple stuff like Flame Blast Prolif in Beyond was very satisfying as well. I feel like that again with Hex Blast actually kind of reminds me of playing.
Oh man, that
Flame
takes me
Blast
back.
in the day.
I started doing Beyond League, and I vividly remember you killing yourself to your own Flame Blast Reflect in the start. It was either the 2-week race or the Bloodlines Torment release end of 2014 when you partied with Pox and Xeno, and you were in Scepter of God, and you pre-charged a Flame Blast on a strongbox that had rare monsters, and one of the rare monsters had Ellie Reflect.
Yep, back in the day when monsters had elemental reflect auras, so a rare would come in off screen, and you had to be just one shot yourself with a Flame Blast. I do remember that. That might have been in a race. There was a 2-week race around that time that I eventually ended up getting back into. Like, this was my 4th character in the league. I was going through my character list recently. I found that character, the one that I like.
Yeah, it was the 2-week. Yeah, now I remember again. It was the 2-week because you were trying to make MFing a thing for like a short 2-week event. You were doing the low life MF, right? The low life MF, which economy experiment, something like that.
Yeah.
I only remember it so vividly because it was my first Path of Exile content that I was enjoying.
I think there's been some others, but yeah, builds are such a product of their time because a lot of these now would be like trash compared to now, right? And even builds since then are just like generally more fun. I'd say builds are generally more fun now than they were back then. But back then, like as of its time, those were like super fun. I don't know what of those would be as fun now. What would carry forwards to the future? Well, I mean, I think Discharge is still pretty fun. I tried playing Spark again recently. I tried to make a Spark build like the classic one back in the day.
Yeah.
So bad.
Aura stacking is like the only way to make it work. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you have to either be, I think, like full crit Inquisitor juicing, or some sort of like aura stacking sort of shenanigans. But I tried to do kind of like more classic style Spark. I actually tried to take advantage of the new really busted Awakened Fork to get like a crap load of Spark Spiders, and every single time I cast, the game would basically go down to 1 FPS because it just puts so many spiders, sparks everywhere. The Awakened Fork, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it does, but just spits them everywhere. Actually, more modern and still very current because it basically hasn't changed. Probably one of my most favorite builds recently was Unleash. I did Unleash Arc Ball Lightning. I made a Unleash Archmage. Because obviously Archmage self-cast spamming is really hard to sustain the mana, but I love Unleash as a mechanic, and I was like, I really just want to play around with this, so I made an Archmage build just alternating between Arc and Ball Lightning, and that was just super fun. Unleash is such a good mechanic. It's PoE 2 in current game, basically, in a way. It allows you to use multiple skills, a little bit more difficult to set up, but once you get it rolling, really smooth, fun playstyle. You just unleash your arcs and wrap everything on the screen. Unleash your Ball Lightnings, tons of single target. That's good fun. Build up those Unleash seals. Wrap's pretty hard. I like it.
See, my list is just one build. File Spark Inquisitor. Back when we could do Strand in like 18 seconds.
You're farming Dried Link.
I remember watching those videos,
Yeah. Loved it. Want it back. I don't think it would suit now, but
no,
probably didn't suit then either.
Probably like a Fireball build is probably the most like similar to that. Oddly enough, Vile Fireball, just to like clear with Prolif and then just Fireballs in between. That's probably like the most similar thing to old school Spark for like mapping experience. So you just kind of like run.
Yep.
Unless you go Auto Bomber or something.
For me, man, Venom Gyre. I know it's Gyre, but Gyre sounds cooler. But yeah, to me, like that's kind of why I gravitate towards Poison in this game, because it seems like with most other builds that I played or tried to build, like you're basing your whole thing around the 6 link and auras and like maybe like a totem. like you're not really clicking a whole lot of things. Whereas Venom Gyre, it's like you've got that interaction with Whirling Blade, so like that's a guaranteed thing. Like Plague Bear obviously is very, very good. Withering Step's really good with poison builds. Like there's just so many things you have to click, and just makes it feel like a lot more engaging. And that's why I always like kind of gravitate towards that kind of stuff. But Venom Gyre and Withering or Whirling Blades is super fun.
Yeah, they really nailed the design with those, with that like poison skill sort of package that they did. I've been doing a bit better with recently, with like the blade blasty stuff was pretty good too. But yeah, I think the poisons were next level. Like Plague Bearer is such a good skill, and yeah, and you get your Withering Steps, and like I said, the interaction with Whirling Blades. Like it feels much more like a package of different things.
Yeah,
There's like potentially a drawback there where you feel a bit locked in. You basically have to use these 4 skills
True.
if you're playing that build. But I think that's offset by the fact that they're a lot more fun and interactive to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they don't all require you to have like 4 links in them.
Yeah, I think
Like, they don't
that's
take up
kind
your
of
whole gear slot.
maybe what they're thinking, like with like the Void Sphere, like these kind of like shorter cooldown, work with
Yeah, I
any
like 'em.
build kind of skills. Like I'm down with that.
Yeah, I like these new skills a lot for that. Flame Wall and Void Sphere. Although Flame Wall certainly can, depending on your build, benefit from a lot of supports and so on. But they're certainly feel like I certainly get the feeling like we're ramping up a bit more to PoE 2 with some of these designs. Like in a way, even like these skills don't actually make that much sense in the current game because it moves a bit too fast to use them a lot of the time.
True.
But they certainly work
Like
in
the
like
2-step
heists
damage.
and,
Yeah.
yeah, they certainly work in some of the content though, like heists and more difficult maps. If you're doing delirium orbs and stuff like that later on, they're certainly going to be pretty nice. Yeah, I've been using Sigil on my Hex Blast build since it's Archmage, and it's actually gives you an insane amount of damage. The mana Sigil thing on the ground that you charge up. It's crazy amount of damage. It's really good. You can pre-stack it as well just by spamming a skill.
Have you seen the replica flask, the replica Lavianga Spirit Flask?
What does that one do?
It gives increased mana cost to skills during flask duration instead of no mana cost.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought I had
10%.
seen that, but I feel like I would have remembered that.
It's pretty insane. I was lucky to
Increased
find it.
cost.
I could totally replace my life flask. I'm agnostic now, so you basically don't need a life flask. Like, I could use this damage flask. I've been using the foreboding mana flask thing. Do you guys know about this? Where so it's you use the mana flask that has like a 7-second time, and what it does is you press the flask, nothing happens, and then after 7 seconds, it gives you like 4k mana just as a single burst instantly. But the thing is, you can chain it, you can stack it infinitely. So you just press your mana flask every 1 second, and then after 7 seconds have gone down, every 1 second you'll get 4k mana.
What the hell?
And any suffix on the flask, like I've just got move speed on mine, but if you put freeze immune or curse immune on there, is active as long as the flask is active, which is that full 7 seconds. So it's a 7-second utility flask that you can spam and keep up actively end to end. So they nerfed the stacking of the enduring flasks a while back because you could also stack those infinitely too. They nerfed that. They're certainly gonna nerf this. I love it and I hate it because you basically have to be a metronome, unless you're doing illegal things. But we're not going to talk about that. You basically have to be a metronome on your flask, otherwise 7 seconds later you get burst down and you have no mana, and you're like try to press the mana flask and nothing happens. So, but when you do it, it's like insanely powerful. It's such a huge amount of mana recovery.
Do you think piano flasking is something they're gonna deal with before PoE 2, or just like
I hope so. I hope so for sure. I'm like all for everything that's going to kind of bring down the RSI aspect of the game.
I'm literally wearing compression gloves because of this game.
I feel you, dude. I feel you.
And specifically because I'm a streamer, because there's a 0% chance that if I wasn't a streamer that I wouldn't be using a flask macro. I would absolutely be using one. Without any hesitation. But I can't do that because I'll get banned because you can see it on stream. So I can't do it.
No comment. No comment.
But I would. Because ow.
I would never use illegal flask
Same.
macro.
Anyway.
Podcast host, this is the time where you're supposed to unmute.
Yeah.
Move us along.
Was I muted for you guys again? So far I only laughed, so there's not much damage there. I was also not able to come up with anything to say to that other than I remain at a healthy distance from all activities that are against TOS.
I don't break the rules. Walk up to that line, but it's a very clear line, and they've got it's fine. So I will not cross that line. Just because I've spent way too much money on my PoE account, like a ridiculous amount. Like it's just way too much, and I keep spending money. I can't lose that. Too much money.
Is there any other replica uniques you guys want to mention? I feel like we should be rounding up things as it's going towards an end, and I don't want to we're above the 2 hours already, and I don't want to steal your time in this league start. But if you're having fun, if you want to stay a little bit, there's probably still tons of things that we want to talk about potentially. But I just realized that I'm already going for a while.
I feel like I haven't had enough time to kind of delve into the replica uniques and alternate bases yet. Like I've kind of just started to look at the alter qualities now that I've got some like faceted lens, and I've done a few heists where I've had alternate quality gems to look at. So I've started kind of delving into that list. But yeah, there's still I mean, that's the thing. We've got so many different new items and things like that this league. It's actually going to take some time to explore them, I think.
Same. It's as SSF player, I don't want to fantasize about stuff I'm probably never gonna get. So I don't look.
I really want bases to be really good, but I'm
not so sure on the bases.
I don't know.
Like I like the idea of them, but I'm just not sure how useful they're going to be. Like, so there's these claws, right? They give added chaos damage, and you're like, great, cool, I can make a poison build. But there's no way of getting Elder Influence on them, which you need to get the poison modifier, which is mandatory, like long term for a poison build. So they're just not going to compete. And
you could.
I feel like that's the case in a lot of cases. Like
you could get Elder on them though.
How though? With Harvest?
Well, you orb them with in different influence type, and then you woke orb smash an Elder Claw into it.
True. Okay. I mean, that's a bit of an extra process, but technically, yes. Okay, I forgot about that.
It can be done.
I was like, because there's no Elder Orb, but you're actually right. There is. You can kind of take the 2-step approach there, but then you got to roll with 2 influences.
It's the long road, and you get a bunch of extra modifiers that you might not want.
God, what a nightmare!
But it can happen. Yeah.
All for a little bit of extra chaos damage on the implicit, I guess. I mean, if it's potentially a best in slot, then someone will do that. But yeah, that's.
You could also double corrupt them in bulk in 5-1.
Wait,
that's super forehead, dude.
True.
That's a very long play.
Wait, why though? What's the end result? Like you get a non.
Well, you'd end up with a base that was eldered.
How do you end up with a base that's eldered from double corrupting them?
Does it work? Because if you vendor 5 of the same base, don't you get the base back? What if you vendor 5 elder bases? Do they carry that?
I think the missing step is that when you double corrupt and you brick, then it turns into elder or shaper, like into a random influence item. But you have to corrupt a lot of them because they added the other influence types to the pool, right?
Yeah.
Oh, one of the double corrupt outcomes is to add influence, right? I'll tell you about that. So wait, you have to do it times. So you have to do about 100 times.
Yeah, that's not a valid strategy.
And you're speaking a foreign language right now.
Okay. And then vendor them. All right.
That's a slightly less 5-head version of what Carve did to his wand. Have you seen that wand he crafted?
Item level 12 imbued wand.
Yeah. He leveled all the way to Act 9 to get the imbued wand reward, and then used the vendor recipe to down level himself to level 12, and then took the quest reward so that he has an item level 12 imbued wand to craft on.
That's great.
Yeah, I actually thought when I first saw that he farmed that, The only way that I could come up with it was like he farmed the one diff card recipe and got Moon Sorrows, and then bricked the Moon Sorrows into rare and did the 5 for 1. That's what I thought. But then, yeah, I think that's a little bit more efficient for SSF to just level to Act 9 and then
It's
down
funny
level.
though. Imagine de-leveling your character from Act 9 to level 12 though.
I do like that.
I barely use the de-leveling recipe. What is it again? It's a Scour and a Regret
Scour
or
and a
something like that?
transmute, I think. No,
Scour and a
Scour and a
transmute?
wisdom. Scour and a wisdom, I think.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Although
But
I do
why?
like my Scours in SSF.
Why? Because you can get +1 to chaos and +1 to all and tier 2 chaos multi on an item level 12 wand before well, the second tier, not tier 2. Tier 2 is the high end, not the low end, but the second lowest. And a lot of other mods don't exist in item level 12. So he's trying to make himself a +2 chaos wand on an imbued base. But imbued bases don't drop at item level 12. You can't get them.
Yeah, people use
Except-
it still with a low level 1, but it has less spell damage.
Yeah.
It's big brain.
Yeah. That was interesting. But yeah. Another few weeks and we'll know if there are any actual bases that are made into some very pog things, but I hope so.
I mean, clearly the Elemental Overload Scepter saves like a lot of points for builds that are starting in the bottom right side of the tree.
Yep.
But I
I
think
really
it's
hope
also-
that there's a lot of stuff that comes out of them. I just haven't thought of any. But there are many smarter people than me come up with fun things to do with these base items, hopefully.
Yeah, the other interesting base that I thought was cool was the amulet that only can have 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes, but all of them have 25% increased effect of the mods. And then you also have the rings that have either +1 prefix but -1
Yeah, those are
suffix, or
cool.
the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like those. I think the -1/-1 is actually super worth it too, because a lot of the time, 4 better affixes is going to be better for a build than adding 2 other affixes that are like less important for your character.
Can you influence slam those?
Not. Yeah, they're just
Yep.
rare bases. Yep.
Okay, I can see that being. Those should be able to be useful.
Oh yeah, dude, I didn't even think about mana reserve reduction on Shaper Amulet. That's super good.
Yeah, scaled by 25%. Plus, if you use catalysts on them as
Catalysts
well, you
as
can
well.
add that.
Yep.
Some of those influence mods are super juicy and would really benefit from the 25% increase.
Breakpoints as well, you can hit where like 45% increase because of catalyst plus the 25 might like breakpoint into something.
Plus curses now. So the curse mods on rings or corruption on gloves and things like that, they now just stack
Because they're
because because it's curse effect, an elemental weakness with X effect, but you can put that on several items and just get a much more powerful curse.
Oh wait, they stack with each other, the same mod.
So you can
What?
get 2 rings and a corrupted pair of gloves and end up with like, what is that, like 98% effectiveness of curse or something?
Wait, is that intended?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know, but it works.
I think they're tagged as caster as well, so I think you can scale them with catalysts as well.
Yep. And so if you could get increased effect of them by 25%, scale them with catalysts, put them on both rings, get a corruption on your gloves, you end up with something, I haven't done the exact math, but it'll be something like a level 32 curse on hit.
It's pretty good.
That'll be fine. I'm fine with a level 32 curse on hit. I'll take it, thanks. But that's not base items. That's just weird. Well, the increased effect could be used there, but I think I saw one that was -1 to that was we've got one that's -1 to both. There's no and -1 to prefix and +1 to suffix and the other way around. Do we have any that's less effective with more mods? That's not one, right?
That would be crazy. Like an amulet that could have like four prefixes and 4 suffixes, but at reduced effect. I don't know whether that would be better, but there might be situations where that would be good. No, so far I think it's only the amulet with the increased effect but reduced modifiers, and then the rings which have either +1 and -1.
One prefix or suffix moved. Yep. All right.
Yeah, I think those are really interesting already now. From the other stuff, I also agree. We have to see what people end up making with those. But that, yeah, I can see some immediately good applications, especially after that mention in chat with that amulet. Yeah. Probably gonna have to grab one of those. I didn't do any like super high level grand heists though, because I'm scared of losing them still. And the fact that you can't, I mean, there's still this bug around with you getting into the wrong Rogue Harbor instance, and then you're not being able to get back into your grand heist, even though like, you're theoretically supposed to be able to port out in between the wings and store loot. But in practice, it can happen that you lose the thing.
By the way,
what do you mean?
You can fix that. You can just it costs you a few coins and like load screens, but if you just go back to your hideout, coin back, go back to your hideout, coin back, go back to your hideout, coin back. You load into a different one every time, and there's only
eventually you'll hit back your old instance.
Find the one with your portal at it.
It's harder in the public leagues because there's more instances you have to cycle through, but it's quite easy, and it's been quite easy in private league if you get put in.
Hey, I mean SSF hardcore. There's like literally only 20 other players.
It's probably fine, yeah.
Yep.
You probably won't have a problem finding your instance
There's
again.
probably only 2 instances in your entire thing.
Softcore trade will have a hard time with that, though.
That's like, probably the reason.
Well, I've been doing it in softcore trade. It takes 3 or 4 times on average. It's not too bad. Although Australian Gateway might be.
Yeah, I've heard the
less
Gateway
swamped.
helps. Yeah,
less
I've heard the Gateway
swamped.
helps as well. So maybe some of the US ones or something might be really hard.
Yeah. I was gonna 120 coins and didn't get back. Okay, so some people have spent over 100 coins and not gotten back to their instance. So it might be just less populated gateways can get away with it pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that would also explain to me why it hasn't occurred to me that often. Why I didn't have that problem that often. Because maybe not just be that many instances around in SSFHC.
Yeah, you'll run into the problem less because of that.
Yeah, no, what did I want to say? So yeah, when I did my alt gems heist, my grand heist, that was the highest grand heist and the most investment grand heist I did so far, because I only found one with experimental or unusual gem rewards so far. And I didn't portal out of that one. I did all 4 wings in one go. And I had to really prioritize loot. And it really, the fact that contraband doesn't stack with non-contraband is really bad in these multi-wing things. Where you have like a stack of 6 regrets, but then you have also a stack of 5 regrets that are still contraband and they don't stack with each other. And then in between the wings you have to stack, you have to find the pairs. It's like a game of memory with the cards, right? Where you have to find the matching cards in your inventory.
Just drop them all back on the floor.
Oh, that's super, up again. Super forehead. Why did I not come up with that?
The fact you even have to think of those scenarios in Path of Exile it's special.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that
spend like an hour looking up bases and seeing if I can work out anything. They're stuck in my head now.
I just hope that more people can get into these grand heists, like both from in terms of like playability with crashes and bugs zoning in and out, but also in terms of drops. Like I just want more people to experience the real core fun of the mechanic, which is getting these super exclusive loots, these new things that you can get. Because that felt the best for me so far. I mean, I like the normal contracts. They can be even more rewarding in terms of pure monetary value. But just seeing that final reward room with the, things that you can pick one from, and you can only pick one, and you look at everything carefully, and they're all shiny and new and stuff that you haven't seen before. That's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, it is pretty addictive. The looting from the grand heists. I got quite a lot. Hopefully they up that drop rate a little bit for those, maybe. Well, I don't know. Maybe it'll fix itself as people get further in endgame. But I'd like to see a bit more of that.
All right. Well, I think this is the point where we perfectly naturally should round things off. Is there well, at least for the recording, you guys are welcome to stay around. I'm just always like looking at the timer. It's like, how many minutes do we have?
My phone's down to 11%, so it's not going to last longer anyway.
Oh yeah, fair.
Feathering costs battery.
No, and I
I
think it's also a phenomenon. I don't want to burn people out from coming on the podcast. I don't want to have anyone feel like that. And I'm also again not logged into Discord chat. Maybe someone said, "Hey, I have to go really quickly." And yeah, I notice it's a phenomenon that podcast guests are really polite and don't say when they need to go or when they feel like that they've stayed long.
I'm
enough.
leaving. Bye.
So in case you didn't notice, I already earlier tried to offer you a window to leave. But I think we're gonna round things off officially here for the recording. First of all, before I forget it, thank you guys both for coming, Fluffy and Ziggy. It was awesome to have you on.
Thanks, I had fun.
Yeah, likewise. Fluffy says nothing. He didn't have fun.
It's awful. I'm never doing this again.
Do you guys want to quickly give yourself a shout out and talk about what you're doing on your stream and why people can be hyped to see that and what's going to come up in the next couple of days? What's your next project? Fluffy, go first. Tell me.
Okay.
What's the next upgrade for your poison steel build?
Getting gear that's good would probably be the next path. Six linking the dream, or getting something worse six linking. Gosh, just pushing poison builds to the next level. That's what you can expect. Out of my stream. That's what I'm all about. And PTR for Diablo 3 next week. Smile.
And you have a podcast as well, right? Did you already talk about the path, the upcoming PTR changes? Or is there an episode still coming up?
Yeah, so PTR changes got announced last Friday, so we do it every Tuesday at 10 or 9 p.m. Central. It's mostly Diablo-related podcast, but we do talk about Path of Exile sometimes. The problem is my co-host is the most filthy casual Path of Exile player ever, so it's really hard to talk about Path of Exile without his eyes glazing over. But yeah, it is an ARPG related podcast. So ZiggyD's been on it. That was a good episode. Every Tuesday.
Nice. Looking forward to that. Maybe that will get me into Diablo. Maybe that.
I can't believe I just literally can't.
No,
I wouldn't have agreed to do this podcast if I'd known.
You're gonna go in 2 months.
Yeah, that's you've got a 3-week period at the end of every league where I'm interested in other games. That's when we look at anything else. But
I already got last
every other game has.
PoE life. Yeah, that's good too. It's been going pretty good. I have been streaming some Hex Blast action. I want to push the Hex Blast a bit further, so I'll be doing more of that. And I don't know what I'm going to play next. I'm thinking maybe Discharge, but who knows? I might change my mind for the next build. At the moment, I'm really interested in pushing the Hex Blast more and really enjoying it and getting more into the heist. I've been a little bit sick, so I'll hopefully be on again soon for streaming, but I probably need like another rest day. So, but I'll be back on for the Hex Blasting action. The private league's been really fun as well. You're welcome to join us if you want a bit of a change of pace. Yeah, that's me. I'm ZiggyD. I'm on YouTube and Twitch.
G'day.
G'day, mate. Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate.
Yeah,
another diary on the Barbie.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I heard that was okay. Yep, no, it's fine.
I've definitely been watching that content since I started playing PoE. Yeah, Ziggy together with Pox, probably my longest Path of Exile streamer that I've been following, and tons of good content over the years. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks for coming, despite the fact that you're sick. I've even forgot about. I saw your tweet, And I thought I should ask whether you could still come on the podcast despite it. I figured you would have said something if it was a problem. But yeah, thanks for powering through despite not feeling well.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
That's good. Good to know. Balor, what is your next goal? You gonna play some Crackling Lance Inquisitor?
Nah, the new Spectres are way too good. I'm just gonna invest a buttload into them.
Oh yeah, I might want to try them. Good point.
We're gonna make like proper helmets and cluster jewels, and
I'm sick of missing the OP builds. I always end up playing the OP, like going to play the OP builds, and then they get changed before I get to play them. So
give this one a go. They're
maybe I'll
very
play an
good.
OP build before they nerf it.
Yeah. Hard carry these Spectres. Hard carry.
Yeah, too much of a hipster normally, but maybe I'll have to get on it early this time.
That's all we're gonna get for like a week. I'm just gonna be investing more into it. That's it. We'll see how good it gets.
Yeah, the same basically for me, other than it's not Spectres, but the horse, the metaphorical horse that I'm backing is the Cold Snap Vortex Occultist this time. And surprising change, normally I'm the guy that you know for dying in really unfortunate ways, like 5 times in the first week of a league. But as a matter of fact, since I entered maps, I haven't died a single time this league. I'm actually still on my first
literally
character.
just jinxed it.
Why would you say something like
I
that?
know.
I'm pre-effing. F.
Yep. F and chat.
You're dead today.
I was actually super worried I'd die before the podcast. I did like an 81 heist, and it was the tunnel with the automaton guys and the divine ire dudes, and there was Subfizz, and I was so scared at some point. It was definitely super scary, but the build is holding up. Like I found an essence worm early on, and I was able to go Mind Over Matter instead of full reservation. So I got some defenses, and the action speed reduction from increased effective chill is working pretty much in my favor. So yeah, I'm looking forward to actually getting the build also damage wise to the point where I can feel confident about endgame bossing. I've done some stuff, but yeah, still needs. I don't have the cold dot multi jewels. I need medium cold dot multi jewels, but that's basically what you guys can expect from me. And other than that, I'll do it a third time. Thank you guys all for being here. Thanks for coming onto the show. Thanks to all the viewers and listeners. This podcast will be uploaded in full to BalorMage's YouTube. So if you missed half of it, you can catch up there relatively soon, as well as for your listening pleasure on all audio platforms where you can listen to podcasts, pretty much most of them. Link will be in chat. So yeah, thanks guys. Oh, one more thing. Next Faded Connections is in 2 weeks from now, Saturday night, 9 p.m. GMT again, and we will be joined by the fabulous guys from the new POG podcast Inspired Learning. Will be joined by It's Badger and This is Yoji Gaming.
Sick.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, then,
Bye.
thanks guys. Bye-bye. Wave into the
Bye.
camera. We'll see you next time.
Wave into your
Okay.
microphone.
Oh,
All
the
the voice
pressure's off.
people.
The pressure.
Hosting it.